Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. To the top six show, lots to delve into today with big news that Mohamed Salah has agreed a $240 million deal to go and play his trade in Saudi Arabia. Liverpool's stance is he's not for sale, but they are not backing away and are going to do everything in their power to sign him, according to the mainstream media. We are going to take a look at Arsenal, Chelsea as they look to bring in a new striker. We're looking at Ivan Toney to the Gunners as well. And we're going to delve into Manchester United's problems. Who is the cause of them? A lack of quality in personnel? Is it the manager, or is it again the board stroke Glazers? Lots to talk about today and preview this weekend's games for our top six teams. Of course, hit like buttons, subscribe and turn on those bell notifications. A brilliant panel for you tonight. We're joined again by D-Man back on the show, Northside back by popular demand, and Rory as well, both repping Arsenal. Man like Mo is here. George has arrived probably to take the piss out of me because they gave us a spanking at the weekend, and Don will be here, but Don is late to every stream. Legitimately, this man has never been on time for one stream yet, so he'll be here when he gets here, I suppose. How is everyone? Everyone well? Everyone good?
Yeah, can't complain.
Very good.
Tranquilo. I know. There's lots to talk about today as well, but we've got to start with the big breaking news that Mo Salah has reportedly agreed to go to Saudi Arabia and play football. He's not going to force the move, according to the David Ornsteins and the early reports of this that have come out. Liverpool are saying he's not for sale, but with the money the Saudi League has got, the money these clubs have got, what do we think is going to happen here? And should Liverpool consider accepting it? I want to go to Mo first on this, as a fellow Egyptian who sees this from a different point of view, maybe to a Liverpool fan. What are you saying?
He should go and take the money. Liverpool should take the money, 100 million. Listen, they cannot replace Mo Salah. He's already one of the greats, but I'm looking at it from an Egyptian point of view. He goes to Saudi Arabia. There's 100 million Egyptians that are going to tune into the league if Mo Salah goes there. It's a massive thing for Egypt that have Mo Salah in that league, playing alongside Benzema and N'Golo Kante, against Cristiano, and all these big names now that are playing in the Saudi League. I know Liverpool fans don't like it, but to be honest, realistically, he has to go. I'm just looking from his point of view. He can go. He already surpassed Gerrard. He's already a legend for Liverpool. Won everything. What is there left to win? Are you going to win the Champions League this year? Are you going to win the Premier League? No, you're not. Are you even going to win the Golden Goal? No, you're not. So probably 200 million pounds in 3-year contract. That's a lot of money to turn down. And also marketability. Mo Salah, he's more marketable in Saudi Arabia than in England because of just the Arab world. Everybody's going to watch Mo Salah, buy jerseys and everything. Sorry, Liverpool fans. I know he's valuable to your team, but he has to go. He's already agreed to go. That means he is willing to play.
Listen, I get where you're coming from. Like, I know Liverpool's stance, Rory, is that he's not for sale. But does that really mean anything when you're talking about the money that these clubs in Saudi Arabia can offer?
No, there is no such thing as not for sale. Everyone's got a price. And I think Liverpool now, from a publicity standpoint, they have to give this. Salah isn't going to push a move. They've got to kind of make it look like he isn't for sale, because if they do end up selling him, the argument will be they should have done it when these rumours happened way earlier in the window, and they could have had time to use that money and fix it for the season ahead. Because if they lose him now, this close to the end of the transfer window, they're not going to replace him, and they may as well have got rid of him earlier in the window and used that money. So I think, I mean, Liverpool have had such bad publicity all summer since their first two signings, and this is just another nail in the coffin for them.
If we're being honest, though, there is definitely two ways to look at it. If you are a Liverpool fan, you can look at it that way. Like, I'm a Tottenham fan. We sold Gareth Bale on the last day of the window. We sold Durantal Berbatov last day of the window. It affects your club. It does. It's not a good way to go into the season. But Salah's 31 years old. They're probably going to bring in a fee that demands above, in and around the £100 million. But let's be honest, we saw Neymar go there for 100 million euros. Salah's in a better time of his career than Neymar is, if we're being honest, and he's still performing, he's still scoring goals. And like you said, the whole marketing side of it, what Salah brings to the country, they're going to be a much larger investment in him. And for Liverpool, this season, then they're not going to be title contenders. They're just not there. They're missing that centre mid at the moment. They couldn't go out there and get their key man. They've had a few players that they've missed out on. And if Salah goes, yeah, it's not going to be great, but they do have a lot of players in attack at the moment. Salah's not going to be the 25 goal scoring player that he was, 25 goals a season player that he was 2-3 years ago. He hasn't done that. And he's progressively started to get a bit worse and worse as the season goes on. I'm not saying Salah's a bad player, but he's 31 years old. And if you can bring in £100 million for him, just like everyone said with Harry Kane at Tottenham, you've got to accept it. You just have to. The way that Liverpool are going to progress and be able to rebuild their team with that, then they can reinvest it. Maybe this season, yeah, they're not going to be title contenders, but the season after that, their team's going to be in a much better position than it would be without that money. Because with Salah there, let's be honest, their team's just, I don't feel like he's going to be around for that team to compete at the top again. I feel like...
But just on your point there, sorry to interrupt, when you talk about Salah not competing for the Premier League, with his goal contributions, he could be the difference between them making the Champions League and them not making the Champions League this season. So I don't think, from a Liverpool standpoint, I don't think they should let him go. I understand from Salah's point of view, he's achieved everything he probably can at Liverpool, Premier League, Champions League, top scorers in the league. There's nothing left for him to actually do here. And he's in the twilight of his career. He's approaching the twilight of his career. He can still perform, but not to the level that he used to, like you said. So from a personal perspective, I think he should go. But I think Liverpool should possibly hold on to the end of the season, because he could, with his goal contribution, it could make a big difference if he goes. Because, like you said, there's not much time to replace him if they let him go.
Well, if we are being honest here, if there's any manager that you trust in this league to work with the players they got and create a goal-scoring attacking lineup, it's going to be Klopp. Klopp is the one manager you can rely on that's going to create chances. His team's going to score goals. And without Salah, they still have adequate players at this moment in time. That's not taken into consideration that they could sign another player. I'm not saying they're never going to get a Salah replacement. There's no player out there that's on Salah's level that's attainable at this time. But they can sign a player that's very good, a player that's going to be able to challenge their front line that's currently there, because they still have Diaz, they still have Jota, they still have Nunes, they still have Harvey Elliott that can play outside. They've got a lot of players that can play in those positions that are good, but yeah, they probably will need more if Salah goes, but they're not going to be down and out like people think, and I still think that they'll be able to get into the top four with or without him.
Yeah, I can tell Liverpool fans are stressed about this. I mean, they're acting like I've made this news up. That's the epitome of fear when Terry's making this news up. No, this is genuine bona fide news that's come out from credible outlets that he has agreed in principle to the $240 million over a 3-year period. And you also said this, Mo, that he is, if he goes, he'll also get a percentage of the revenues from the TV subscriptions that come out of Egypt as well. So it's a huge money offer. It's a real interesting one here. This is fake news, not even true, is what's being said. Well,
listen,
Scared.
People do whatever makes him sleep well at night. You know what I mean? Like, just people stand in front of the mirror and they think, what is making me sleep at night? Well, I'll say this is fake news. I went this morning and I read all the Saudi news, the Egyptian newspaper in Arabic. I speak Arabic, of course. And they're all saying Al-Ittihad are edging closer and pressing Liverpool. Liverpool are not willing to sell, but Al-Ittihad are willing to offer even more money. If you read Arabic, you could just go Google Translate. It's simple.
Yeah. And I understand that none of the tier 1 transfer journalists have said that personal terms have been agreed, but they're never going to do that to Liverpool. They don't want to lose their connections at the club. But the press and the media that don't give a shit about their relationship with Liverpool are going to print what they print. And at the end of the day, I believe that he has probably agreed in principle. Why would he not? If we can get a deal agreed with Liverpool, would you be willing to come and play for £250 million? £250 million plus the TV rights? He's probably said, yeah, if you can get a deal done with Liverpool. What those reports actually said, if you listen, is that he's not going to push hard for the move. He isn't going to go on strike or put in transfer requests. He's going to respect Liverpool. But if Liverpool can come to an agreement, and I know their stance right now is he's not for sale, but I swear, boys, didn't Spurs say that Kane weren't for sale? As an example, I remember once upon a time, Inter said that Lukaku wasn't for sale. I remember that being the case. Yeah, and we can all go through multiple examples where clubs say a player is not for sale at any price. Fergie famously said he wouldn't sell Real Madrid a virus. 3 months later, £90 million, Cristiano Ronaldo is flying off into the sunset. to become the greatest footballer of all time. And at the end of the day, like this, not for sale, especially, and I don't care if what I'm about to say offends anyone, especially when it comes to these billionaires from the Middle East, the word no when it comes to buying something means very, very little to them. And if they offer the right amount of money, you will know what your owners are like. If they offer the right amount of money, FSG is saying yes. They will. If £200 million gets offered, FSG say yes. They say absolutely yes to this deal. And I think that's what you've got to bear yourselves in mind. If they only bid 100 million, you probably say no. But if £200 million gets put across that table, cash injection into Liverpool, they're saying yes, 110% they are.
Wait, you know what else, Terry? Those Liverpool fans might finally get their dream of Mbappe, eh?
Well, if they did sell it for £200 million, who legitimately do any of you think, like Northside, who do you think they could actually sign to bring him in? I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans in the comments say we'd go after Saka. But do you think even with £200 million, do you think Liverpool got the pull to land someone like a Saka, like an Mbappe now in 2023?
They haven't got the pull over teams like Chelsea, and they want to go land Saka from Arsenal. They lost their mind. They can't go to any other top six Premier League club and take their best player. They're going to have to go abroad. They're not getting no teams from any other top six club.
Listen, they can go out there to Bayern Munich and offer them big money. You know what I mean? They can maybe go and get someone from Bayern Munich if they've got the money. For me, I wouldn't get rid of Salah unless you're going in to get someone like Mbappe. And I think then the fans won't be so angry. He's younger, world-class player. Salah, I don't think he's on the decline, but how many more years being at the top is he going to give you? If they get top money and then they go and reinvest that in Mbappe, I don't really see Liverpool fans being angry with that. I wouldn't be angry with that because you're replacing a world-class player for another world-class player that has, another 5, 6, 7 years to give you of world-class performances. You know, at the end of the day, if you don't try, you never know. You know, I remember when Arsenal signed Ozil. At that time and point, a lot of people didn't think Arsenal could attract Ozil, and we did. You know, I remember when people didn't think that we could attract Aubameyang, and we did. So money really talks, and they're in the Premier League, and they do have this self-sustaining. So ultimately, if you offer them big money, they're going to take it. You know, we see the way that they reinvested the money from Coutinho. If they can redo that, I mean, Klopp's done that before, so there is previous to go by, and not just hoping and wishing that things will go well. If he recruits that way, then maybe it can work. But at the end of the day, I can see the concern at the same time because Liverpool have fallen off. They used to be neck and neck with Man City. I can understand the concern from Liverpool fans saying, well, if we get rid of Salah, who we're getting in, and we're already playing they're playing catch up with Liverpool, with Man City. And to an extent, they're playing catch up to an extent with Arsenal because they're not looking that strong. There's still holes in the midfield. They're still holding in the defense. You know, so at the end of the day, do they really want to be concerned with replacing Mo Salah alongside needing to address their midfield even more because it's still not good enough and their defensive positions? Because when you look at their centre backs, you got Gomez, you got Matip. For me, they got to be upgraded on that. If they want to get back to the level of competing to the wire with Man City neck and neck, they need to be replacing that. And they run like Arsenal, self-sustaining. So they do need to sell. It's all about how they replace it. But I can understand why they're a little bit nervy, especially from how things went with Caicedo and Lavia. I can understand the concern. Because Liverpool, we used to look at them as, you know, they did great business. Sold Coutinho, went and got Salah. Nobody wanted from when he was in Italy. They went and got players like that. So, you know, the goalkeeper, you know, all the players that they signed, they were quite shrewd and they didn't get bumped and they were kind of picking out all these gems. But in recent time, they're getting picked by teams like Chelsea. So if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm thinking, well, you're not doing the type of business that you were doing before, earlier on in Klopp's reign. It looks like the scouting's going off a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned of how this football club is going to use that money if we do cash in on Salah. So that's how I look at it. I would say
you genuinely think Mbappe would go play for Liverpool Football Club?
Bro, you got to attempt, bro. You got to attempt. I'm not saying that he is, but at the end of the day, you got to attempt. I've heard football fans say you can't attract world-class players unless you got Champions League football. That's absolute crap. Yeah.
No,
at the end of the day, you can offer the money. They may not, but your football club has to attempt. You know, or what's the worst if you don't?
Yeah, but they got hold on, but they got embarrassed when they went to Caicedo and offered a lot of money to Caicedo, and they got embarrassed. And look at the club now. They showed their hand, and look where they are now. Just because of a wrong bid for the wrong player before agreeing terms, knowing that the player is willing to play for them. The player publicly wants to play for Real Madrid. Now they're gonna go and bid for him now for. You're not realistic, to be honest. You're not.
I'm not saying that they should sell him, but I'm not saying that I'm not saying. I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying I would keep him, yeah, and make him stay there. But I'm just saying you. At the end of the day, if they get rid of him, they have to replace him with a world-class player. They have to, because even if you keep him, you can't be regressing because they're playing catch-up. They're not favourites to win the league this season. They're not favourites, like you said, to win the Champions League. If you get rid of them, the only way the fan base.
But the world-class players,
I've been listening to you guys.
I have a name to throw out there because Terry, sorry, Don. I have a name out there that is not going to cost 100 million. If they take that money and go maybe get Kingsley Coman, I think that will add to their squad. He's not going to cost 100 million, by the way, and they can go and invest the rest in someone else as well. I think Kingsley Coman can be a really good addition to Liverpool Football Club. He's electric. He's very good. Lots of experience. Won lots of titles.
The thing is, they've got 110 million. They've proven that. If they got 200 million, say, for Mo Salah, because I think it would take a bit of that level to make Liverpool change their mind, that gives them 300 million pound. I know there's only a week to go, but again, with 300 million pound, that makes almost anybody in the world purchasable, especially even in the final week. Even a player who's joined another club already this summer could be purchased for that kind of money. We've seen madnesses happen already, so it wouldn't be beyond the realms. I'm not talking about a big player that one of the big teams in England has signed as an example, or someone that signed a new deal. Rafael Leao as an example. I know he just signed a new deal, but if you've got 300 million pound in your back pocket, again, he's achievable. But there is a part of me that thinks Liverpool have to consider this, because I know Mo Salah is still going to be valuable to the Saudi market in 3 or 4 years, but it's clear they're not just a league that wants to buy old men. They want to buy old stars, yes, but they want to buy people still in their pomp. And they're trying to already buy people that are on the up and coming in terms of the Gabby Vegas. This is not a league that just want, okay, we'll get him in 5 years when he's 35, like the MLS. Just why the MLS has never grown, because they've never really been able to attract people in their pomp. And I think, look, I think it's a threat to European football, most undoubtedly, which is why they're all panicking a bit. I want to go to some of these super chats here that have come in. This comment there is funny. 2 days ago, Terry said Gabriel was going Saudi. No, I didn't. What I said is there's a rumor that the Saudi could be coming in for him. And in the same stream that the rumor was being presented, we put out the story from Fabrizio that it isn't. So again, Terry didn't say it. The media did, and we spoke about it, my friend. It's weird. Like, it's crazy. If I sat on here and sung a Michael Jackson, if I sung Billie Jean, would you think I invented that song? Is that the way it works on social media? Do you get what I mean? I'd drive a BMW, therefore Terry owns BMW. Is that how it works, bro? I don't know. Maybe. You and Maradon the moron make me laugh, bro. You guys are crazy. Kingsley Coman would bang at Liverpool. That's from an Arsenal fan, is what AJ Reacts says here. Thank you, AJ. Liverpool, be thankful you can get a big fee for a 32-year-old Salah. I'm not sure if they feel that way. Piff directly involved in the scary part. Yeah, Piff are doing a madness. Piff are doing craziness. Not denying reports, but I find it funny. Everyone on the panel is praying he goes to Salah. Of course. Of course we all want Mo Salah to leave Liverpool. Why would we not? Like, on the real level, which person wants Mo Salah running at their left back? Anyone?
I don't want him to go. Footballing wise, being a neutral, I actually want to see Mo Salah score more goals. But I know why every one of you wants him to go. But for me, like, for the money, yes, I want my Egyptian fellow man to make more money. Footballing wise, I don't want him to go because that makes the Premier League weaker.
You need to pick a Premier League side. I told you this, Mo. You need to pick a Premier League side and get off that fence. Yeah, because you always talking Prem, but you never pick a team. Yeah, pick a team, bro. So we.
Do you know what it is though, Terry? Do you know what it is though? Yeah, like Liverpool right now, they're in a serious pickle, man, because of how late Saudi have come to actually get Salah. Because I'm hearing that they've offered him more than what Ronaldo's on. They're trying to offer him over 200 million a year or something like that. You know, that's a no-brainer to accept that, man. He's done everything at Liverpool, really. He's won everything. He's got his legendary status at the club already. But the biggest headache that Liverpool are going to have is who they're going to replace him with. I know Mo was saying about Coman. I don't see Coman at this stage in his career going to Liverpool. You know, I think he's going to stay at Bayern Munich. And as much as he's a top player, he'll break down in Klopp's system. You know, this guy will be in that injury room every so often. Every other week he'll be in there. You know, I can see Liverpool trying to replace Salah with someone like Jared Bowen, someone like that, because of their ownership. Like they've got no ambition. So Liverpool,
Don't, you're
if
violating
these guys,
them. They wouldn't go for a
bro,
player.
I'm being real. I'm being so real with you, bro. Like if they lose Salah, Liverpool are in big trouble. Big trouble. So if I would listen, they better pray. The fans better pray that Salah doesn't have a change of heart, because as it is, it's all on him. If he says I want to leave, Liverpool have no choice but to sell him. That's what it is right now. It's all the stance on Salah. So listen, you better pray. If you're a Liverpool fan, pray right now that you don't get rid of him, because you'll end up with Jared Bowen in no time.
Mate, what they might do, they might turn around and say, listen, we'll surprise in December as well. We'll supply you with the biggest and best Christmas tree and matching family pajamas. We know Mo Salah loves a little bit of that as well. So they might be doing that. And, you know, there's loads of things they could offer him to change his mind here. Once upon a time, Gascoigne rejected Man United for Spurs because Spurs offered his sister a sunbed on top of the wages. So there's all these little things that can be offered to people that can make them go. But you think, do you actually think that, Don? That they would only replace Salah with a player of Bowen's level, no higher?
Yeah, I do. They've got no ambition, man. Like right now, who can you say right now that's at the top level, Terry? That Liverpool, that's at Liverpool's level, that's available right now. I know Mo had a good shot of Coman, but I don't see that happening. Mbappe's not going to happen. I can't think of wingers right now. Right wingers that are going to put up numbers at Salah.
So when they sold Coutinho, they replaced him with Van Dijk and who else? Alisson.
Yeah.
So surely going on that, they're not going to go for a budget player to replace Salah. They're going to go for someone that's, I can't think of any, but they're going to scout the market for an established class player. They're not going to go for a Bowen.
This is the issue.
Who's
this is the issue.
Right?
The market, especially if they want a like-for-like replacement in terms of a left-footed right winger, the market's really dry for it. Like, we've been looking at potential backups for Saka this summer, and there just aren't that many. And Diaby and Kudus, who are two of them, have gone. You're not left with many. Rafinha, maybe.
Very good shout, Rory. Very good shout. Musa Diaby would have been an amazing replacement, but he's gone. He's gone Aston Villa. You know,
what about what Stassi said? I know Elise has just signed a new deal, but again, if you've got 300 million in your back pocket and you walk in and go, there's 70, 80 million, Palace's mind can be changed. You've got Eze as well, who City are also looking at. I mean, who would have been perfect would have been Doku.
You know who they're trying to say, Terry? KK. Don't try and go get KK. Napoli. Do you know how hard it is? KK at Napoli. You ain't gonna be able to get him out of Napoli. That's not gonna happen. Like you guys.
Do you know what they did? They've got the money.
They do, innit?
Everything is possible with money when it comes to football. If you've got enough peas, if you had enough money right now, you could buy any player at Arsenal you wanted with enough money. Because there always would come a point where they'd say yes. You could buy Haaland if you had enough money. If you kept on bidding and get them going up, you could get him. It would cost probably £700-800 million for them to say yes, maybe more. But there's always an upper limit. But yeah, it's interesting. Viewers, let us know who you think should replace Mo Salah if he leaves. Mo gonna pick Man City. He is a tourist fan. Now, who would you pick? You should do like a specs and pick someone like a Burnley. You should pick an obscure team.
Picking Chelsea.
Well, I haven't actually. I had an idea in my mind that I do a raffle. And every season, the team that I pick, I just back the whole season in a win or lose.
If you pick Chelsea, Mo, I'm not
gonna pick them. I can't pick a team, bro. I cannot.
You got to pick a team, man, because then they'll have to be real.
No, I agree with you, Mo. I'm of the belief I don't have a Spanish team. I don't have a non-league team. I have one club. You should only have one club, and I do believe this young men, if you're watching, when you have daughters. If your daughter brings a man home that wears more than one club's football shirt, he's a cheater. Kick him out your house. Done. Never cheat on your football club. Like the funniest one's PSG. Everyone buying PSG shirts. But why are you helping PSG and their financial endeavors to be a better European club than you? It's mad to me. Don't help another club ever. That's my personal view. But
I never bought with my own money a jersey other than Inter ever in my life.
Yeah, I could never do it.
It doesn't matter how much I like a jersey, I'll never buy it. Never.
Get with it, man. It's the fashion nowadays. Sometimes those overseas drip.
Bro, do you know what it is? I know it's fashionable, but that's how they've got you. They've got you with the fashion thing, right? By the way, wearing a football shirt out as a fashion statement when I was a kid, you got laughed at, even if it was a good shirt. It was like, why are you wearing a football shirt out? However, they've got you on the fashion thing so other clubs can sell you their merchandise. Like, people have been absolutely hoodwinked into buying and financially supporting other clubs. It's beautiful. Listen, I've got to praise the marketers. They're dumb people up like kippers. But that's just me. I'm old.
Terry, have you seen Real Madrid's free kits this season? the
Oh,
home
look at
away
them.
in the third kit.
I
Oh, bro.
tell you, it's Chelsea's pink third kit I've seen a picture of. That looks nice. That
I
looks
think
nice. But
that's just a concept. That's a concept.
oh, is
It's
it a
not even real.
concept? Yeah, it looks good though. But yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. I don't even buy Man United shirts because I can't give any money to them Glazers. This super
Jordan
chat
brand
here
PSG
says,
top, so.
this says, how feasible to sell Salah now and get Mbappe? Anyone think they got a chance at that?
No.
No.
Nope.
North side.
Mbappe would
No,
turn
no.
him down.
I said that's what they should do. I'm not saying it would happen. I'm saying that's what they should do. There's a difference in saying what they should do to what they can do. Yeah, you can't get rid of a player of Mo Salah's quality and then you're going to replace him with who? Do you know what I mean? The only one I would look at, I'd say, listen, get Matoma. He's not world class, but I think he's a baller. And I think next season, the price for him is going to be mad. Get Matoma and then push somebody else on the right-hand side. There you go. But that's a downgrade. So everything that I think is feasible that can actually happen, I think is a downgrade.
Maybe that's your problem, Osad. You're not realistic. That's why you think that Arsenal should win the league, even though they are. Maybe that's why you're putting pressure. Maybe because that's why you think Arsenal should win the league, even though if I'm asking you, you would think that they're the second best team in the country, but they should win the league.
The same way you like playing it safe, talking about Premier League when you don't ever support a team.
No, but seriously, I'm being serious. You think Mbappe, they should bid for Mbappe when Mbappe is. They can't get him. They cannot. The guy wants to play for Real Madrid. It's simple. Arsenal, you say that should win the league, even though they're the second best team in the country.
Yeah, but there's a lot of teams there's a lot of players that want to go to a certain team. A lot of things happen in the transfer window. It's not nailed on that they're going to get him. If they don't, then they can be there to swoop and get the player.
Bellingham wanted to go to Liverpool, apparently.
Yeah. But listen, the thing with Liverpool is though, I will say this: if Liverpool go in for another star this summer and get told no, like it will be Hussam. I don't know what he'll do. We have to call the Samaritans for that man. This here from a different Hussam says, not a winger like Salah, but an attacker like Vlahovic. If you've got 300 million, you're going to buy a striker. You're better off going to get Osimhen. That's who you're better off buying if you're going to buy a centre forward. But then they'd have no one on the right. Do you know what? You can put Trent there though. Trent needs to be a forward. Get him out of defensive positions. Buy a right back. Put Trent in Salah's position, and then go and buy Victor Osimhen. There you go. Problem solved. Terry Bro, straight facts with Lee and Hussam was blockbuster. One of the best shows ever. We need Lee versus Igal or Don. Come and make it happen. Yeah, we could do Lee Gunner versus. I don't think him versus Igal will ever happen. If I'm being honest, I don't know if either of them are up for that, but I'm sure Don will come on and challenge Lee Gunner on some of the things that he says. He had a mare though, Lee Gunner. I'm not going to go into it. He had a fucking mare. Some of the stuff he said, I'm still laughing about it. Now, this super chat says Coman is injury prone.
Yep, that's the point I was making about him. He's not going to handle the whole season on playing on the clock. No way.
Anthony here says Saka with question marks. Liverpool can fight Chelsea again for Balogun.
I'm happy because those rumors have cooled down. We're not interested like that, so I'm happy, man. Happy days.
Yeah, this here says wearing a Spurs shirt saying Mo is washed up. Washed up. He put up more numbers than half the Spurs team, but to put together last year. And Mo is not for sale this season.
I did say Mo's not washed, but he is declining. It's clear to see his numbers started off at 30 plus, and now it's 20. Then it was 25, and now it's 20 plus. So there's clear decline in his degree, and he's not going to get any better.
Do you know how many goals and assists he got last season, George?
In the Premier League, we're talking about goals.
Yes.
How many goals did he get last season? No, how many goals did he get?
So he got 19 goals and he had 12 assists. So he got involved in 32 goals last season. I get what you're saying, but Liverpool last season, they were shambles.
Your maths was off there. It was 20. That's 31 for starters. Okay. And then secondly, I said goals. I only highlighted his goal contribution, because I know he brings another dynamic to the game, but I highlighted his goal contribution. It went from 30 plus goals to 25 to 20 was the standard. And now the standard for him is if he gets 20 goals, it's a good season. Before, that was a bad Mo Salah season.
So don't you think he's adjusting his game to provide more assists as well?
I do think he's adjusted his game slightly, but I don't think he's going to continue to thrive in this Liverpool team.
That was also last season. He was in a far worse Liverpool team generally, though. So I feel like his goals went down, but actually he was still kind of overly contributing to a team that was in decline. rather than him just being in decline.
Him, especially at the start of that season for Liverpool, he was one of the players that were getting called out for having bad performances, but still scoring goals, but having bad performances. And he went a long time without scoring goals. So again, it's clear to see Mo Salah's game isn't at the same place it was a few years ago. And if you can bring in a price that he was demanding a few years ago, which Liverpool would have accepted as around what Terry's saying, 150, 200 mil, then why would you say no? It doesn't make any sense.
It's certainly going to be interesting. There's Northside, Mo and George on the panel together. Yeah, Arsenal fans just look away now. About to hear some nasty agendas, is what NLF has got to say here.
Listen, they've got Rory to back the Gunners, man. Don't worry.
Stop selling our players. You ain't sorry, Mo, is what LFC My Religion says. Liverpool, be thankful you can get a big fee for a 32-year-old. So this is true.
You know about that. I just before we move on, it's the question is that I was talking this morning about it. Do we think if he stays one more season and he doesn't get 20 goals, they're going to be offered 100 million? Or they're just going to sell him for 20, 30, 40 million? You're going to lose on that much money. That's the question that Liverpool fans should ask themselves. Now you got the money to replace him. Next year, you might not have the money to replace him.
That's the conundrum, isn't it? Like Saudi will still probably want him, but if his stock starts to wane, right now he's still seen at the peak of his powers and a superstar in his pomp. So you could be right, and that's what Liverpool fans have to weigh up. And I know again, people keep saying Fabrizio said that Liverpool said he's not for sale. Seen that before. Liverpool cannot afford the wages of Mbappe. They can if they get raised £300 million but we know they've got 110. They sell this player for 200 million and you get £350,000 a week back of Mo Salah's. You can definitely afford Mbappe. Whether they've got the pool to get him is another conversation, but can they afford him? Every single day of the week. Listen, viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed and you're subscribing. This could be a disaster for Liverpool. We're going to speak a bit more Liverpool later when we preview their game. Arsenal and Chelsea conversations to come. But speaking of disasters, why are Man United so bad at the moment, boys? What is the problem at the club? Is it a lack of quality players? Is it the manager and his tactics? Or have the board let him down by not helping him buy the right people? Why are Man United so bad right now?
The one thing we're not going to say is it's the board not buying the right players. Because as you said, Terry, he's been in your club for just over 12 months. He's had, what was it, 9 signings? 9 signings. If you ask 9, yeah. If you ask me, 9 signings is more than adequate amount to make an impact on your team and where you can create your identity and have a large impact on, because that's 9 players. There's only 11 on the football pitch, and you're not always going to sign starters, but it gives you enough players to start to implement it on your squad. For me, Ten Hag's not done enough over the past year to show the improvements in your team, and some of the things that were lacking a year ago and before Ten Hag was there is starting to show again that these players still have the same problems. I know you can say it's not always Ten Hag. These are going to be some of the same players that were there before. That's fine, but with the players that are there and the players that he has brought in, I don't think there's been enough for him to improve. And it's only 2 games into the season, so you can't judge it too much, especially with the new players and that he's brought in with those. But especially with Mason Mount, it's not looking good. And
I think you can say that he did enough last season because obviously it wasn't really his team. They won a cup, they got the Champions League qualification. It's more about just using what he had. I think the problem is this season, there's no progression from the 2 games that we've seen. I know it's only 2 games, but the Wolves game, for instance, Wolves are a relegation fodder, let's be honest. And Man United got overrun in that game, especially in midfield. They made Casemiro look very average, but that's because he's doing a 3-man job by himself. And it looks like he didn't learn from his mistakes into the second game, where in the second half, Spurs actually annihilated them. So on the pitch, I don't think Ten Hag's got it tactically right because the players don't look like they know what they're doing. There's no particular style of play. I can't figure out what they're trying to achieve. And they're struggling to score goals as well. I know Highland's come back, whatever, but no one is contributing in the attacking half of on the pitch. It's all a bit wishy-washy. There's no leaders on the pitch. I mean, the Bruno Fernandes captaincy thing, that's another story. But the Mason Mount sign, like you alluded to, what does he actually bring to the team? He looks lost. Maguire, we don't know what's happening there. You need another defender. You brought Onana in to change your side of play to be more front-footed, and that's all good and well. But if you haven't got the rest of the players following suit, It's a disaster.
It's not gonna work, bro.
Gonna
It's
keep
not
it
gonna work.
consistent like last year. Liverpool, when I have one player, two players not performing well, I'm gonna call out the player. When I have more than half the team not performing up to the standards that we saw, that we know they can perform at. Even Luke Shaw last year was good. Now it starts the season. I'm only analyzing 2 games. He doesn't look the same pace. Doesn't look great. Casemiro left by himself, but not performing great. Bruno Fernandes, I don't think Bruno Fernandes is performing the same level. Even Anthony, I think he's worse this year than even last year.
Max.
I'm gonna point to the manager. Listen, I played football. I know when you have 5-6 players not performing to the level, I'm gonna point to the tactics, where they are on the pitch, the way they're set up, and maybe other things, maybe fitness before the season. Maybe the way they eat, stuff like that. But I'm going to point to the managerial crew, including the manager. If you have too many players not performing, it's not only one. Even Rashford looks like lost on the pitch.
I think a few things go hand in hand. I think we can all see that the midfield is a shambles, and some of that is down to Ten Hag buying Mason Mount, but some of it's on the board because the way they've acted in the market since he's arrived, everything's slow. So I don't know. Either he bought Mount with an intention of still bringing in someone like Amrabat, which would give the midfield the balance it needs, or he has just ballsed it up buying Mount and not really knowing Mount's profile or how to use him. Because the difficulty is, if an Amrabat does come in, then one of Bruno or Mount, which presumably would be Mount, drops to the bench. So then you've spent your big 60 million up front at the start of the window on a player that gets benched. But the worrying thing is I saw a stat today that was like, and I know the media have messed around with some stats to make it look like United's midfield's worse than it is, but it was like United have conceded the most number of shots from inside their own box this season in the entire league, and conceded the most number of touches inside their own box in the Premier League this season. And that is very, very worrying, because that means it is not difficult to get to United's box, and you're going to lose a lot of games if that's the case.
Yeah. I think Ten Hag definitely takes a lot of the blame right now, because the players that he's brought in, like Mason, for example, if you've been watching Mason the whole time he's been in the league, you would know that this guy doesn't work in the pivot. You know what I'm saying? He's not a centre mid. Mason needs to be further up the pitch, crashing into the box, getting onto the end of things, and maybe just, being a little bit more creative. That's one thing that I said about Mason. He needs to coach some creativity into him, because he hasn't really got it in abundance. Like I said before, he's a diluted version of Bruno. Now you've got him playing, next to Casemiro. It just doesn't work in that position. Ten Hag, it seems like he lacks a bit of flexibility when it comes to the in-game management. He seems very stubborn as well. I was surprised that he started that same midfield. Me and George said before the game, when we previewed the game, we said, listen, if you come out of that same midfield again, Tottenham are going to pop you and they're going to win the game. And we both predicted 2-1 Tottenham. And United didn't even score. I know they had a good first half. They had a few chances. They've got problems in front of goal. But tactically, it's just not looking great right now. Something needs to change in that midfield. And then when you talk about the board, Amrabat, what's going on with that? I'm hearing that they're waiting for players to leave before they bring in someone else. It's pure negligence right now. But end of the day, if you know how your owners are, you have to go about it the right way with the money that you've been given. You can't go and buy players that aren't going to fit the style of play you're trying to play. You can't be misprofiling players when you know that the owners you've got aren't going to be like a Todd Bowley and just give you more money. Do you know what I mean? He's wasted a lot of that money on Mason Mount. And Rory, it's a bit of a sticky one. He can't.
Sorry, how many signings that you mentioned? How many of them have actually worked that Ten Hag that they bought under the Ten Hag?
Probably only. I would probably say what's his name? Martinez.
Lisandro.
And Onana's going to work. Let's be real. And right now he's playing.
Casemiro worked, guys.
Hang on. So I would say this: Eriksen as a free transfer definitely worked last year. He helped improve our midfield. Barring Arsenal and City fans, helped get us above all your football clubs last year and win a trophy. Casemiro definitely worked. 110% he worked.
It worked last season.
Yeah, but would you say that was his signing, or was that a club signing, Terry, though? Casemiro.
Again, this is the way I look at it. It depends how you want to weigh it up. So you're saying it's not. Are we going to say now the good signings are not his?
No.
Nah, what I'm saying is last season, obviously you went up against Brentford, you lost that game, and then Ten Hag went away from De Jong and got Casemiro.
No,
what I'm asking is, do you think it was his signing or the club?
Hang on, you're wrong though. We were already heavily linked to Casemiro before that game. The deal was almost pretty much done before that game. So it wasn't. We lost to Brentford. Let's find somebody else. Casemiro. He wanted Frankie De Jong absolutely, and the club couldn't get him his number one target. So I think Casemiro is a player our manager wanted, but he wasn't the number one target. Frankie De Jong was, as an example. But Eriksen definitely worked. Casemiro has definitely worked. Lissandro Martinez definitely worked. They were 3 of our 4 marquee signings last year. Anthony, we know, has been absolutely horrendous, and so far he hasn't translated how good and effective he was for Ajax over into this Man United team. It's just, and we've seen that happen with the Eredivisie before. Some players have come in and done well. Some have come in and been absolutely tosh. You look at this season so far, he's only signed 3 players: Onana, Mount, and Højlund. You can't
Malacia.
So, but we signed Malacia. Malacia was a £10 million youngster. I'm not saying he hasn't been world class, but for a player of his age and the amount of money we spent on him, I think he's been okay. Like, nobody believed he was coming in to be the new left back. We all believed he was coming in to be a backup player, and he's done a good job at that. He's had a couple of bad games and some really good ones. So I wouldn't look at him as a flop or sensational. Does that make sense? This season's signings, Onana's played 2 games and nothing is done wrong in those games, barring give away a penalty that weren't one, which didn't happen. So it is what it is. Mount's been awful, I'll give you that. But Rasmus Højlund, the other signing, he hasn't kicked a ball yet. So when you actually break it down, we've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've made 8 permanent signings, one of which hasn't kicked a ball, and the other 2 have only had 2 games. So you're literally looking at 5 players so far. So I wouldn't look at it and go, all of these signings have been awful. You know, I understand that some of the blame is on the manager. There's no doubt. The way we've started this season tactically has been absolutely poor. But as a United fan, we've done this 4 times on the bounce now, and you guys either don't remember it, or as a non-United fans, you're not looking at it. But this happened to LVG and it happened to Jose, 100%. I want to get rid of certain players. I just don't want them in the dressing room. They're not good enough, and they're still here. They're still here. Ten Hag didn't reject the bid that came in for McTominay. Ten Hag didn't help the deal mess up with Maguire. He isn't the one who's allowed the deal for Henderson to fall apart. None of that is on the manager. He says, yes, I want them gone, but he doesn't deal with the buying and the selling as in the direct action. So for me, this is where it becomes a joint situation as well for me, where you have to look at both sides. And this has happened to our managers since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. They don't always get their number 1 targets for one reason or another. And we struggle to get rid of the dead wood at our football club.
I feel like that's every club though, Terry. And I feel like we can't let Man United have that excuse because Ten Hag's only been there for a year. Yeah, he's not.
Hang on a minute. What do you mean let Man United? So are you telling me? Hang on a minute. Hang on, George. So you are telling me that you don't have a go at your board for not getting rid of players like Eric Dyer?
I'm not saying you don't have a go at your board, but I'm not going to sit here and lie the accountability on the board and keep saying, oh, the board, this, stuff. We're talking about the manager and where we lay the blame. And quite frankly, the manager's been there for a year. He's made 9 signings. And the fact that he's not been able to transform the team. Yes, last season was good. It was a good season. Bear in mind that quite a lot of the other teams that you expect to be good fell off. This season, I do feel like you might get a bit exposed in the fact that Man United aren't going to be as good as they looked last season, and you're not going to be progressing in the way that you thought you was. And right now, this season has shown that. It's shown that Casemiro and we're talking about Casemiro.
Sorry to interject, but you're talking about 8, 9 signings, but there's 8 permanent signings, and 3 have just come in. One of them hasn't kicked the ball yet. So again, that's disingenuous to actually what's going on.
I was going to say about Casemiro too.
But when you turn around and say that we can't hold the board accountable, we have to look at the manager. At the end of last season, when you were in tears over your club season, you turned around and said it's on our board. It's on our board again. They've let another manager down. So why are you allowed to blame your board? But as soon as I question not all of it on my board, some of it on my board, you say, no, it has to all be on Erik ten Hag. Why can you blame Enoch and your board and Daniel Levy?
I wasn't one of those fans. I've never been one of those fans that
you definitely had a go at your board at the end of last season.
I would have definitely did. Look, we're all allowed to hold our board accountable to some extent, but with regards to the football, I've always said our downfall last season was the fact that Conte couldn't get enough out of the players. He couldn't keep the players going. It's on Conte. Naturally, the tactics fell apart. The team fell apart because you saw this team go good at one point. And if it falls apart, that's on Conte. It's not on the board. And this season, what I'm looking to see is that, yeah, like everyone else mentioned, this midfield, Man United midfield has been one of the most dribble past midfields. Casemiro has looked exposed.
It's been awful.
He's been exposed.
This is the thing, Terry. No one forced Ten Hag to go and buy Mason Mount. Like I said on Never Far the other day.
Hang on, bro. I want to stop it because it annoys me. I'm not saying that. But I've held him accountable for that signing, and I've agreed with that element. So we don't need to debate that. That's happened. That's done. What I'm saying is me turning around and also stating that there's deadwood at the club that we've not been able to get rid of. I agree with. So Chelsea this summer, you've got rid of a lot of your deadwood, right? If they were all still there and in the changing room, would you be holding Poch accountable for that?
No. It's like I said, it definitely goes hand in hand. They have to take accountability. Yeah.
So then for me, and I am rattled about it, then there is no debate here. I can hold both accountable for us struggling at the start of the season. Why is it that only Ten Hag or Man United fans can't hold their board accountable, but every other fan base can? I don't understand. No one can answer that question for me.
No, it's because you've said the players that you want to get out, the likes of McTominay, the likes of Maguire. Maguire refused to leave. He couldn't agree terms. And that you can't put that on the board. That
no, that's wrong. That's wrong. He didn't. He agreed terms of West Ham. We wouldn't pay him off the rest of his contract. £7 million. The board said no to it, so the board stopped that from happening.
So, but if he really wanted to leave the club, he would have. And as you said, he's getting paid a lot of money at Man
Yes, exactly. And so he's on 220 grand a week at our club. West Ham offered him about 100 grand, and he's happy to go there for that. But he wanted the rest of his contract paid up by the club, and the board said no. The board stopped the deal happening.
And that contract that he's on was nothing to do with Ten Hag in the first place.
Exactly. So Ten Hag is being held back, and then the board are then not giving Ten Hag money to buy additional players that he needs because they can't get rid of those players. So Ten Hag's transfers are being held up because of legacy issues at the club. And I understand the tactics, the Mason Mount stuff. I completely blame that on the manager. But to tell Man United fans that we can't complain about our board helping to create problems is crazy to me, because you would all moan about that at your club. So why can't we? I know what you want, Jaws, and it's smart. Like, we all want to do, let's just make them blame Ten Hag and focus solely on him. It's a clever game, but it's not going to wash. It's ridiculous to say that Man United fans can't do exactly what you did at the end of last season and hold your board accountable for continuing.
You can't do it because every club has the same problem. Every club has dead wood. We all have dead wood we can't get rid of.
So none of us can complain about it.
Sit here and no, but when we look at it, we're looking at the managers and the football that's played on the pitch. We're gonna hold the managers accountable. Otherwise, every club can sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, our board's not doing it good for us. Our board's not spending money."
If you improve this year, if Tottenham improve this year, but you don't quite get to the level you want to be, and it's because you couldn't bring in 3 or 4 additional players because the dead wood wasn't sold, are you saying you're not going to mention that at all? You're just going to look at it. It's irrelevant why the football weren't quite as good as we wanted it to be. We're just going to focus on what the manager did.
I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit here and.
I think what Jules is getting at is that basically right now, with what's going on the pitch, he's not really trying to see. Jules, correct me if I'm wrong. You're not trying to see any Glazer scarves, any Norwich scarves come out because of the performances on the pitch. Are you trying to say that because right now, looking at what's going on the pitch, you're looking at the manager rather than the Glazers? Am I right?
100%. If the team was good, and like you said, Terry, the reference they use for Tottenham is if the team was playing good, and then they're just that, like with Tottenham and Pochettino, they're just that step away. You can see their step away from going to the next level. Then you'd be like, oh, okay, it makes sense. But
so we're disregard the whole of last season then. So we're disregarding the whole of last season. That don't count.
You was good, okay, but he's made signings. He's brought in his marquee signing, which is Mason Mount.
So answer my question? Are we disregarding last season?
We're not disregarding last season. How have I said we've disregarded last?
So we're
last
focusing
season?
Everything that he's done on 2 games this season.
No, because last season, although you finished high in the table, at points the performances weren't good. You was just getting by.
There were some bad games. There were some bad games. Absolutely, like most teams. My point is this: I understand that criticizing the team on the pitch is what it is, but if we go back and just listen, to the stream later. I didn't turn around and say we've played badly in his opening 2 games because McTominay's still here. I'm talking about the overarching problems at the club. Now we need more balance in that team. But if we can't add the players in to create that balance because the board can't sell, therefore we can't buy, which is, by the way, we've got the money to do it. They're just refusing to. For me to not be able to hold that partly accountable if these problems continue is a fucking madness to me. It's a fucking madness. If I have to say you can't blame your ownership for not getting new players in and selling players, what am I meant to do? Just ignore it. That's crazy. But that's just my take anyway. Boys, how are Man United going to improve?
By a midfielder. Yeah.
Or change the way you play, change the way he set up on the pitch. To be honest, there are other ways. Listen, you still have McTominay. He's a terrible player and everything. It's just another body in the midfield to help Casemiro. It's ridiculous to say, but I said before the game, if he played McTominay, your midfield would have been in more control. Would have been stronger defensively, at least. You'll have somebody there. Listen, McTominay is a football player at the end. He's terrible, yes, but that midfield is just there's 30 yards between them, between Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, and Casemiro. It didn't work out. He maybe plays Eriksen as of now because it's not working. I'm looking at the tools he has now. Just play Eriksen. Just go back to the midfield that worked last year. Just do it again. I think he's stubborn. I think he wants to prove a point.
I
He
don't
wants
think
to
they
finish
can.
it.
I don't think they
Bench
can go
Anthony.
back to last year, though. I think the issue. I think Ten Hag's in a difficult spot right now because if you go back to the way you played last year, which, if we're honest, it wasn't good football. It wasn't convincing results. It was great, a lot of clean sheets and a lot of 1-0s, but I don't think that's sustainable. And if you go back to that again and you finish top 4 and you don't do well in the Champions League playing that style of football, it's going to feel like you've not progressed at all, which is bad for Ten Hag. But if he keeps trying to play this kind of more progressive system that he's been trying to play but doesn't have the players to do it, you could end up getting battered a lot. And so I think he's in a really difficult spot, and I think he has to bring in Amrabat and try and continue playing the kind of way that he wants to play this season. But
So what if he
difficult
doesn't?
now.
Okay, so what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't have? Look, next week comes in, he doesn't have Amrabat. What do people think he should do? Because
Drop
it's not. It's
He's
looking
gonna have, like you
underwhelming, right?
said, like you said, he's gonna have to use McTominay in some games.
And
He's
bring
gonna
in
have to
Sancho.
re-rotate.
Why
gonna-
is Sancho getting a run in the team? Why is persisting with Anthony when it's obviously not working for the whole
Why
time he's been
again,
there?
I keep hearing this. Why is Sancho not getting a run in the team? Because he's been playing for us for 2 years and had one good game. As bad as Anthony is, and I want him dropped, people are rewriting history that Sancho will be balling. I heard someone the other day say Martial's got to come back in. We need him. Fuck my boots. These two have been as bad as Anthony for years.
Is it true that in pre-season you're playing
I
Sancho
think
in the line?
We played him in a false time role because we had no strikers at that point.
He looked quite good against us.
This is what I don't like. Yeah, your manager knows that Rashford isn't as effective through the middle. Play Sancho. Can he do any worse? Because Rashford on the wing was cooking for you lot. Yeah. So why, when I see managers doing the same mistakes that you've seen has not worked and you persist with it, it is on you. I think it's divided at Man United. The ownership have to give the money. They have to uphold the standards of the football club, but they also have to get rid of the dead wood. And the manager has to do with what he has, and he has to achieve more. Ten Hag knew what type of football club he was walking into. He knows the state of Man United. Last season, he didn't have all his players, and he managed to win you something. And he managed to get the best football with a squad that isn't fully his. When we're seeing when we're seeing Mount in the team over Eriksen, I mean, this is not a Mount player that you got from abroad. This is a player that's been in the Premier League. He hasn't done it. That's a risk. You're at Man United. You know that you don't have Man United have a lot of money. You don't have endless money. You haven't got Arab owners. Why is it that you're going for Mason Mount? When you have limited resources, when you're going for a player, you need to make sure that player more than likely is gonna
Spot on.
Don't you think?
And this is why I go on to my football club. Because my football club is run self-sustained. So that's why when I'm seeing people like Havertz, I'm thinking we don't have the riches of Man City. So when we sign a player, it has to work. Look at how long Pepe's been here, because we can't move him because we're trying to recoup that money. You can't be making signings like Mount. For everything I can give praise for to Ten Hag, like Casemiro, like when he bought Martinez. At the same time, we've seen how good Martinez could be. Last season he was sourcing. Why is there a regression? Not only in certain individuals, but your style of football. That's going to cause concern for the fan base. And for me, I'm sorry, playing Anthony, he bought Anthony as well, another player that didn't come cheap, and he's not banging. He didn't bang last season, if you look at his season in totality, and this season, he's already starting poor as well. Those are things you can aim at the manager. The tactics and the players that he does choose to bring in with the limited resources, ultimately, for me, fall to the manager. Now, if the ownership are not moving on dead wood, that is on the ownership. But if your club is then re-signing this deadwood, which is what happens at my football club, I think it's on both. Because a manager can't be re-endorsing, extending the contract of players that for under numerous managers have failed at your club and not produced for your club. And then the ownership as well, because those players have failed you, get rid, start new. So I think it's a balance at Man United. I think anyone that's blaming it fully on Ten Hag, I think is disingenuous. Everyone that's blaming solely on the Glazers is disingenuous. Ten Hag knew what kind of football club he was working in. He knew what football club he was coming into. So at the end of the day, you knew you're going to have to, until the club is sold, you're going to have to deal with certain players. Why is it that he could get the best out of the minimum last season, and in this season you're reverting back to things that didn't work last season? For me, I'm sorry, the manager has to be made accountable.
See, what you've just said, I think is absolutely spot on, and I think it's right. And it is a balancing act between the two things. Of course, there's things he's got to be criticised for. I have done in my last 2 match reactions. He doesn't get a pass from me. It's just when the people talk about Norwich scarves and everything else, it's something that's very dear to my heart. You know, I've sacrificed. You know, I haven't brought my children to a Manchester United game because I think that giving a club that treats you poorly money makes you one of them. I think anyone who moans about their ownerships but still gives money to their club is a charlatan, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And you know, it's something that's dear to my heart when it comes to Man United, and I'll always hold my owners overly. Look, again, if Ten Hag fouls, I'll blame the owners because they appointed him. At the end of the day, if I run a business and I employ someone to work for me and they fail, it's my fault. Like in the cold hard light of day, it's always going to fall to them. But within that, there are things that are on Ten Hag, and I think the Anthony issue is one of them because he is not getting any better. He doesn't want to take a man on. He's been horrendous. I understand he does good off the ball work. He does do good off the ball work. And that's why people ask, why doesn't he pick Sancho? Because Sancho's off the ball work consistently isn't good. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got 2 players that barely create and score, but at least one helps him keep his shape, generally speaking. But we need better in that area, but there's no way that's improving this year because I don't think Palestri or Ahmad, I know our fans gas them up. I just don't think they're good enough, personally. Otherwise, they'd be playing right now. You're absolutely spot on. Playing Rashford as a number 9 infuriates me on so many levels because I just want Rashford. You look at the progression in Saka because he's on that right and that's where he plays and that's his position. Like Rashford, it's like he starts getting into a good run on the left and then he's moved into the middle. And it's so, for me as a United fan, it's infuriating. The way our midfield is currently structured, it's fine to have 2 8s go forward. But then you've got to invert your fullbacks. It's simple stuff. It's what everybody's doing so that your midfield don't get overrun. And like people have tried to blame Casemiro. Oh, he's lost it. He's gone. No, he hasn't. It's an absolute. If you believe that, again, you're what I call a basic bitch. You're looking at the symptom of a real problem because he's been dribbled past 7 times this year. But Bruno's been dribbled past 6 times and Mount 4. There's a Man United issue in that midfield. It's all of them are being dribbled past consistently because of our positionings when we're getting caught in the transition. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. And in fact, Casemiro was great last year. You all think was great. Would you all say he was great last year?
Very good.
I think he was good enough. I think he was good enough.
Good enough. Well, he was the 3rd most dribble pass person in the league last year. No one cared. So name me maybe the top 2 or 3 DMs in the Prem last year.
I would say Rodri number 1. Rodri number 1. Casemiro, then Partey.
Partey for the first.
And Caicedo.
What about a guy? How good was the guy at Fulham?
Yeah.
Paulinho was very good as well.
Paulinho
Yeah, but
was
Casemiro has something.
Hang on. I know the reason I'm asking you. It's not a debate. Paulinho was the most dribble pass person in the league, averaging nearly 2.5 times per game last season. No one cared about that stat last year because they look at the tackles he made, but the structure was good. So just being dribble pass isn't the issue. It's why is this happening? And it's a structural issue. And that's where I agree with George and I agree with Northside. That's where the manager's got to take accountability. If you're trying to be more progressive and it isn't working, don't persist with it. That's why Unai Emery lost his job at Arsenal.
But Terry,
as a United fan, Terry, as a United fan, go on, Offside. Go on.
No, what I was going to say is you're saying that about Paulinho, and I get that, yeah. But at the same time, defending is a team game. Your managers put a midfield that Casemiro is literally on his own in that midfield.
Exactly.
And when we look at Paulinho, I'm not denying the stats, but who is helping him defend? Because if you've got 2 players like Bruno and you've got another player like Mason Mount that are going forward and not tracking back and not assisting, then Paulinho a lot of times is going to get dribbled over because he's going to get outrun in the midfield because nobody else is tracking back and helping.
This is exactly my point. This isn't about the stat in itself. It's fine. It's a fact, but it's why I call it the basic bitch analysis because you're looking at the what rather than the how and the why. And the why it's happening is because the midfield that's been picked and the tactics we're employing is leaving Casemiro exposed, and he's not the fastest player in the world anyway. And he has made some mistakes. If there was a moment against Spurs where he pressed in for the ball and he got turned, very good turn, by the way, by Maddison, and then there was a big hole. So he's not blameless in any of this, but that's the problem with analysis nowadays. Everybody wants to be polarized and all or nothing. And I'm not suggesting Cass hasn't made mistakes in games. I'm not suggesting that the other players haven't made mistakes and it isn't the system. There were definitely times where our fullbacks should have tucked in tighter, but at the same time, it's the manager's job to get it right. So in terms of what you've seen from Man United in the first few days, though, there is a sort of conclusion to this conversation before we move on to the other teams. Where do you guys see Man United finishing now based on these first couple of games? I'll go to George first on that. Where are United going to finish in the league this year now?
I'm not going to be reactionary and think you guys aren't going to finish in the top 6. I feel like that's a no-brainer. I feel like the top 6 is going to be where you guys finish, but in and around where it is going to be. I don't know. I feel like we need to wait and see this last week of the transfer window, not just for yourself, but for all the other teams that are in the top six, because there's a few teams still missing a few pieces. Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, all of us, like a lot of us are still missing key pieces to improve our team, to make sure that we're top 4 contenders down bad. So I'd say you guys are going to be in the top 6, just don't know where. In and around the 4th to 6th position.
Anyone see it worse than top 6?
Not right now.
You'll get top 5. You'll get top 5.
You've still got Højlund to come back. You've still got Rashford to go back on the left. And Terry, I was going to ask you a question as a United fan as well. I'm not defending Ten Hag because I think right now he's not making the right decisions. But do you think in the back of his mind he would have thought the ownership would have been sorted by now? Like with the Qataris and stuff.
Yeah, I think most people did, because they put the noise. The Glazers were the ones who put the noise out that it was going to be done in March, and then it's gone on to June. Now it's happening now. There's talk that November it might be concluded, and that will help change the club. And nothing to do with spending. Again, rival fans always go to the spending. It's not, proper Man United fans don't moan about the spending. We moan about the running of the club, the structure of the club, and the behaviour. And I don't know what jobs you all do. I don't know what professions you work in. If you've ever worked for a big multinational company and suddenly you get a new MD that comes in who's just got more vigor, more life, better leadership skills, a department of that personality of a person. You look at Newcastle. Yes, they've bought well, bought good quality players. But the biggest reason they've improved in the last 18 months is because of the mentality the new ownership have got to win. And it's infectious. And sometimes you don't know how bad your ownership and leadership is until you get new ones. You think there'll be Man United players probably think they push and work as hard day to day as a football club in its entirety as Man City and Newcastle do. I guarantee if you stuck them in those other clubs for a few weeks, they'd be like, fuck me, we're a disgrace. And we notice that with people like Ronaldo that come in and go, oh my God, what's happened to my football club? So yeah, I do think that's a big part of it. And we do need new owners. But, you know, I think what Northside said is right. Our manager knows what our owners are like. He knows what they do. So you've got to get the best out of that situation that you're in and not sort of behave like they're not there. You've got to acknowledge it. So yeah, it plays a part, but it is what it is. You know what you've got. It hasn't changed yet, so you've got to adapt to it, in my personal opinion. But viewers, do us a favor and smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribing as well. This super chat says, stop with the Norwich scarves, you Chelsea bum. United have been protesting since 2008, the year we won UEFA Champions League. The board is 100% to blame. It's always a vicious cycle. Man United fans, stop giving money to the Glazers. I mean, it is always a vicious cycle. Imagine we get it wrong 5 times on the bounce. Eric should have handled his budget better. You could definitely put that, especially with Anthony. You can definitely look at that, and we'll see what happens with Mount. We're not going to overly judge it if we're only 2 games in, but there's elements of that are definitely true. However, it's where the Man United fans will come in and counter that argument is if we didn't have all the debt and the money was being taken out of our club, you could counter those mistakes like Pep did by going out and buying again. And that's where, as Man United fans, that's where we should be. But we don't have the money because they waste it all. So I do get what you're saying, Terry. I think the football gods are trying to mess with you and Chelsea. Expand on that, Debbie. I don't get you. I don't get you. Arteta was accountable for Arsenal finishing 8th twice in a row, but after being backed by the board, look where they are now. Ten Hag needs backing, is what Sal says to us here. Thank you. I want to speak a bit about Chelsea, Don, because you are linked still. I know that Fabrizio played it down, but there's other reports from other journalists about Brennan Johnson still. There's little whispers and murmurs that although Kudus looks like he's going West Ham, there's only a 50% chance it comes off. The Balogun stories have risen their heads again, although Monaco seem to be leading that race. What are Chelsea doing about improving their attack? Because you man need goals, bro. You really do need goals.
We do. We do, Terry. And right now, I'm looking at the market. I spoke to Rory and Mo about this the other day. It's still thin right now. Like, there's no one really out there that's going to guarantee you goals, the goals that we need. The only player really that I can think of is, again, Toney. But he's going to come in January. Poch spoke today in his press conference. He said ideally he would like a striker of a bit of Premier League experience. I've seen some Chelsea fans talking about Darwin Núñez for some reason today on the timeline. I don't know what that's about, but apparently that's just all rumours. So I don't know, man. We've signed this Washington kid today. Fabrizio said it hasn't been confirmed if he's going to go Strasbourg yet. He might potentially stay, more firepower there. But again, he's only 18. So as it is, Terry, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know who we can go out right now and get. I know a few people have mentioned about what's his name? Is it Teremi? That striker? I don't know much about him, to be honest. He's been mentioned a few times, but in all honesty, I haven't really watched him like that, so I don't know. But for me, if it was up to me, I would stick with Broja and Jackson for now, because Broja's nearly on the verge of coming back, and then go all out for Toney in January. I think now it's time for players like Sterling, players like Mudryk, players like Madueke to start stepping up until at least January, and then bringing a Toney to help hopefully finish the job, getting top 4, or we'll see what we're doing in around that time. But I just don't want to rush and just get like a stopgap player. I want someone that's going to come in and guarantee us goals. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit peak right now, Terry. I don't really know who's out there apart from Toney and Osimhen.
The style you play.
You got one in your under 21s.
Lukaku.
That's what I'm saying. Have you got Lukaku?
Okay, so listen to me. I know you're emotional. And you do what I know you're emotional. The style you play, holding the ball up top, passing around the opposition's 18. Lukaku's a big body inside the 18. He might be able to save you for now. I know you don't like him. I know he did you dirty and everything. But in terms of footballing now, what you have now, Lukaku should play. In my opinion, there are rumors today that Pochettino is about to speak to him to see if he can integrate him back or not. I think at the moment, what you have now, you can use Lukaku. He's still on the payroll. He gets paid weekly. The guy gets a paycheck. Let him work for his money. That's what I think. That's what I think should happen. You haven't sold him. Just get him now. Lukaku inside the 18, big body. You lack that presence inside the 18. Even Jackson likes to work outside the 18, right? Am I wrong? Jackson is a very ticky player around the 18, right? Get that big body inside the 18. How many times Sterling reached the line, couldn't find anybody inside the 18 to cross to, right? Get that big body. I know you're emotional. Sell him later. Get him to get you 10 goals and then sell him in January. At least his value will go up. At least someone will buy him in January. I think from a reasonable, from just a logical point of view, I think that should happen.
Mo, there's more than just like looking at it on the pitch, because this guy, number one, is disrespectful. He's a bad egg. He's already come out and said he doesn't want to be at the club. Look at Juventus, the fans, what they were doing. Like, they all ran on the pitch basically saying that we don't want this man. He's burnt bridges all over all the clubs that he's been at, really. I think it's time for him to just go Saudi now. I hope he rots in the 23s, to be honest. I don't care if we have a lack of goals, but I don't want to see Lukaku back. It just doesn't. Right now, the club are pulling in the right direction, and Lukaku is going to take us backwards. And if Poch brings him back, listen, as much as I back Poch, I'm not going to back that decision. It doesn't matter what Lukaku does on the pitch. I do not want him back at the club, right? Because again, we're going in the right direction right now. Everyone's all together. We don't need someone that's going to come in that doesn't want to be here. You're looking at it just on the pitch, but it's more than that, bro. I don't want any more players.
You are very logical in everything. You're very logical, Don, in everything, bro, but you're very emotional about this situation.
Because he disrespected the club, and he went and done it again recently in the summer. He came out speaking about Chelsea again. So for me, it's not just, put him on the pitch. It's more than that, bro.
He's an employee.
Yeah, but Mo, you're not understanding what we're trying to do now going forward, and the bad egg that Lukaku is.
Well, I know you want to buy more players. That's what I know as the club is going for.
I mean, I don't want a bad egg in the changing room, and I'm sure as a fan, it's all right for me to say that, because we've just got rid of a lot of players that didn't want to be at the club. Lukaku is still one of them, so I don't want someone like that lingering around like a bad smell. That's just my opinion. And like I said before to you, I was all for Lukaku. I was saying this guy should come back to the club. Obviously, when we lost out on Haaland, I said, you know what, bring him back. I don't mind Lukaku back. But then when he came out and did that interview, unprovoked, how early he did into the contract, I washed my hands with him, bro. There's nothing that Lukaku can do, or there's nothing you can say footballing-wise for me to change my mind on that. I'm done with him. And I hope the club are done with him as well. I don't want him back at the club.
So would you rather have Darwin Núñez play for you and pay money for Darwin Núñez than having Lukaku back?
I'd rather Broja. I'd rather we stick with Broja. Broja would have got a good chance last season. He had that ACL in that friendly against Aston Villa. So I'd rather we stick with him and then go and get Toney in January.
Does it not worry?
Does
it not worry you that he's got 7 goals in 45 Premier League appearances, and he was at
Southampton though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, so he wasn't a great team, but still 7 goals in 45 games, and he's just been out for a full season with an ACL. Is that enough backup for Jackson, who's unproven as well, to get top 6?
We'll have to see. Because the problem right now is, it's stockpiling. Like I said, Rory, if it was up to me, I would love to be able to go into the striker market and pick whoever, but it's limited right now. So I'm just thinking right now with what we've got, I think we can make use of Broja and Jackson. Washington, if he stays as well, he might be another option that we've got there. I don't know. You know, obviously, ideally, I want a bit more experience in the team. But when I'm looking at the market, realistically, there isn't really anyone there like that. That's a bagsman like that. You know, so
is it more that, or
yeah.
have you not got money? Because there's links with you guys and Balogun. Yeah. Have you got money for a striker this transfer window?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's money there. There's a budget.
No
for a striker,
side asking Chelsea if they have money.
I got money.
there's a budget for a striker, but what came
up? Because he's saying he'll just go with the strikers that he has right now. And I was thinking, why? Why is it that you just go? If you've got the money, I don't care if it's a risk. Every player's a risk. We've seen.
Bro, what is 1 billion from 1.1 billion? Who cares?
That's why I'm asking him, innit? Because he's saying I'll just go with what I have. I would only really say that if the club don't have money. If the club has money, I don't care if they're taking a risk.
But who would you go for right now? You're saying Balogun. That's what you're saying.
I'm not saying Balogun. I actually told you the last time I was on stream. I told you I fully understand why you don't want Balogun. What I'm saying is just go out there and take a risk. Would you not break the bank for Osimhen? I'm not hearing none of it.
I would love Osimhen, bro. I would love Osimhen. That's what I'm saying. Osimhen or Toney, they're my two that I would love to bring in.
This stream, we've already admitted, we all know that there's a price tag, yeah? You guys, you've got the money. Go down. Why don't you push your club, or as a fan base, not just you, as a fan base, go out there and say, look, go get him. If you can't get him, get Vlahovic. But I'm not happy with the way this team is. It's Chelsea Football Club. Go out there, you've got the money.
Well, the thing is with that, Mo side, if you look at Chelsea fans right now, they're happy with Jackson. A lot of people are saying that Jackson is the next big thing. He is the next big striker. He is the player that Osimhen is right now. He's going to be that. So right now, the Chelsea fans are deluded to think that he's going to become that player. And that's why they're not putting the pressure on their team to sign this new striker. And they think that their young players like Broha and him can lead them on going into the season. When we've known Chelsea for 3 to 4 years can't score goals. This is the same team. Yeah. Now you've got all young players that aren't experienced scoring goals in the Premier League. And they're just all going to have to chime in and hope that they can all score 5 goals here, 5. You're not going to have no player. I don't think you're going to have any player above 15.
I wouldn't be happy with that.
Who's going to score 5 goals here?
George, just a question for you. Do you not think Jackson's going to be that guy?
I don't think he's going to be a 20 plus. I don't think he's going to be a goal scorer like Chelsea need. I don't feel like their team's going to disperse the attack the right way. I feel like they've got too much personality in that attack, as in too much young players looking to make a name for themselves, for it to work and the chemistry to thrive, and for one striker to be there scoring all the goals. I just don't think the Chelsea team's going to, the goals are going to be distributed through one player. I feel like you're going to have a lot of players on 7-8 goals each. I think Jackson might lead the way with 10 or 11, but I don't see him being a 20 goal season.
One thing I'll say about Jackson,
I'd be very surprised if he got more than 15. Very surprised.
One thing I'll say about Jackson, George, I know he's been missing chances that as a striker should be your bread and it should be your dinner, really. Against West Ham, he was flapping his lines. That header, he mistimed it. Against Liverpool, he missed a few chances there. But I don't think that this back three that we're trying to use is actually utilizing Jackson well. Because if you looked at us in pre-season, we're playing a lot through the midfield, bro, and we're creating for him, giving him chances to be one-on-one of the goalkeeper. I don't think I've seen a single one-on-one of Jackson yet up against the goalkeeper. If he was missing those sort of chances, then I'll be very concerned. But some of the chances he's getting right now, yes, as a striker, he should be burying them. But Jackson, I honestly think, from what I've seen, is a type of striker to be threading the ball through the midfield and getting him one-on-one with the goalkeeper, then he's going to bury it. It's only 2 games, so we have to see what happens. Because, again, this is a player I didn't know about before he even came to Chelsea, but I just don't think we're utilizing him to the best ability right now because we're not using the shape that we need to be using on the pitch with the players that we've got. I need to see us go back to a back 4. I need to see Jackson bag at least 2 on Friday, hopefully tomorrow, or even 1 just to get him going. But yeah, man, I'm not seeing us creating for him the way we was in pre-season. It's all coming from the wings, and it's all kind of scraps in a way, So we just have to see what we do when we go to a back.
But the way you played in the first 2 games relies so heavily on having the ball in the final third, building across the opposition's 18. So you saying that we need to play in behind the defense, that requires a completely different setup. And from what I've seen from Chelsea, you are playing to be the dominant team on the pitch. So that means what you're saying, Jackson doesn't fit that completely. You're asking Pochettino to change the system to fit Jackson. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
No, what I'm asking for Pochettino to do is to go back to a back 4 and have a more attacking, imposing philosophy that he was using in pre-season. And what I know Poch to do is a player 4-2-3-1. Poch, yes, he might have gone to a back 3 sometimes with Spurs, or I don't know if PSG might have done that as well. But he's using the wrong formation right now. I understood it against Liverpool, but against West Ham,
it's opposition, isn't it?
Yeah, against West Ham, I did not understand it, bro. There was no need to go to a back three up against West Ham. There was no need whatsoever. And up against Luton, we do not need to go to a back three again. Whether you're protecting Silva, whether you think it's about set pieces, go back to a back four and impose on teams, you know, with attack with intent. We're not attacking with intent right now. So I want us to see us go back to a back four. I think that will help Jackson a lot.
Watch out, then.
Can I ask a question of the panel? In terms of the game against Luton, because we're going to preview some of these games and we're talking about clubs now as well. Did anyone see a shot? I mean, I know it's a new season, and I know the previous campaign plays a part in everyone's thinking, but it's still only one win in the last 14 games for Chelsea. None so far this season. Can anyone see a slip up or Luton pulling off a madness on Friday? Or is this just one of those games where Luton are just not good enough no matter what Chelsea do to get away? Or do Chelsea have to put a performance in here where they play well, bang 3 or 4 goals in and make a statement? What are you saying, Rory, as a rival looking at this game from a Chelsea perspective?
I think if Chelsea don't win very comfortably, then I don't think you can make anything of it. If Chelsea turn up and win 2-0, then it's just like, well, yeah, you should be winning 2-0. So anything less than that, they scrape a win, I think it looks bad. And if they drop points, I mean, yeah, they're in a relegation fight at that point. So they've got to perform. They have to perform.
They do. Northside, do you think they will turn it on and get better over the course of the season, starting with the game tomorrow night against Luton?
100%. I saw a lot of good things from this team against Liverpool. The intensity, Enzo Fernandez, I think, played excellently. Reece James, I think, going forward, I think that was a game I actually thought they should have won. Chelsea fans went away from that game and thought that they should have won. Should have won that game. Against Luton, if you play with the same intensity and the way you played against Liverpool, why can't you beat Luton? I don't see no reason why. I don't think the game against Luton, I don't think Jackson will probably score. That's not the opposition where, you know, you not having a prolific striker is going to be the be-all and end-all. It's going to be more against the bigger teams. But against Luton, I think Chelsea have more than enough to do with Luton.
Facts.
I feel like they need to have a very good game. They need to have a convincing performance. Like you guys said, they need to win by 2 or 3 goals just to build the confidence in this team, because a lot of these players were here last season. I know it's a new manager, it's a new season, but a lot of these players were here and they were a part of this horrid Chelsea team that haven't seen much wins. So they need to start to build that confidence up, and especially for Pochettino to go 3 Premier League games without a win, it'd be worrying as a manager in the Premier League, especially a Chelsea manager. So he needs a big win.
We've got a nice set of games coming up.
Luton 5-0.
Yeah, you can't lose at home to Luton. You're going to win.
I'm seriously. Chelsea will smash Luton 5-0. Goals will be from everywhere. I watched this Luton team the first game. This is a championship team at best. Chelsea should be able to batter them. If they don't batter them, questions need to be asked to how Pochettino is set up his team. If he doesn't play,
even if they do batter them, what does it mean? Because
it doesn't tell me anything. I agree with you, D-man. It doesn't tell me anything. But at least at this point, you'll need the 3 points against Luton to just stamp your authority, to say, hey, against the smaller teams, I'm just going to go play my brand of football. I'm going to score a lot of goals and then move on to the bigger teams. I don't care how he's set up against Luton. It doesn't matter who plays, by the way. There's a massive difference between the 2 teams. And Chelsea talking about 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. No, they should be smashing Luton.
There's a super chat here that says it depends on what Luton show up. If Luton attack Chelsea, they have a good chance of winning. If they play counter-attack, it's tricky. Luton's striker is strong.
I want him to come out and play. I want him to come out and play. That's going to help us, you know, because we look how many chances we created against a low block West Ham. So if Luton come out to play, that space is central on that small pitch at Stamford Bridge. So let them come out and play. We'll see what happens.
This is, to be honest, we don't know shit about our squad. Sorry. We don't know shit about our squad is the biggest worry. I can't even think about Champions League with the PTSD of last year. Too many. I hope I'm wrong. I think that's why it's important that you win, because I think it's just about, listen, I have the same energy for my club this weekend as well against Forest. I think we have to win, and we have to win well. It's not just about scraping a victory, especially after Chelsea are winless so far this season. And you want to just, this is probably your easiest game of the season as well. all of our clubs playing Luton at home is the easiest game of the season, and it's one where, yeah, as you're right, a 4 or 5-0 win doesn't mean, oh my God, Chelsea are back, but it means you're improving. A 1-0 scrape where you're missing loads of chances is much more concerning. I think there. Chelsea should have brought who?
Donny
Ireland instead of Jackson. He's a way better striker, in my opinion, and would have solved the scoring problem.
It's two games in a formation that isn't good, like for the players that we've got. Relax.
11-1 odds for Luton. Easiest money ever is what Jay. I bet you don't even put a bet on that, Jay. I bet you don't. We'll come back to you one in a minute, Debbie, because it's back to United again. There is only one striker in the Premier League, and it's Haaland. He's very good, isn't he? Don, would you rather finish 8th or play Lukaku and get top 5? If Chelsea finish outside the Champions League or Europa League spots this season, FFP will be peak. So would you? Yeah, if you have the choice, 8th without Lukaku or 5th with him?
Don't do this to me, guys. Come on, man. Let's not do this. Listen, to answer your question, I'd rather play Washington than play Lukaku. There you go.
You want your team to foul in spite of Lukaku. That's terrible. Dan here. I hope you're well, Dan. He says, Chelsea need a versatile player who can play right wing and attacking midfield. Pedro would be a great, in my opinion. Sporting got him as Bruno Fernandes's replacement. 93 games, 46 goals, 23 assists. Very versatile, creative profile.
You know what? Jem told me about him earlier. I need to do a little bit more research on him, Dan. But from clips I've seen, he looks all right, to be fair. But I need to do a little bit more research on him.
There is a player on the market exactly the same profile. Kudos. Right wing.
I don't know why we're not going in right now, Mo.
The Kudus deal is confusing me. I mean, West Ham haven't got. I don't know why all our clubs ain't trying to buy him. All our clubs. He can.
Saudi are in for him now. Apparently, the couple of Saudi clubs are just, and he's just scored 2 goals in 3 minutes as well. So,
are they playing like Ludogorets team, whatever they're called?
Yeah.
He's ridiculously good. Nathaniel here says, I'm hearing Chelsea are interested in Jonathan David, which for me, I'd rather have him more than Balogun and would be cheaper.
Nah, not for me.
Yeah, I'm not. I've seen him play a few times. He looks a bit got one of them weird heavy touches. Do you get what I mean? Like there's yeah. Watching Chelsea play versus West Ham was painful. Those players look like they haven't played together ever. Well, a lot of them haven't. It will take them time to get to know each other. Proves chemistry is everything. Very true there, Sonny. Yeah. Abu here says, if Chelsea play the same formation on their next game on a championship team, that tells you a lot about Poch and where they are heading this season. That will be shameful, is what he believes.
Yeah, Poch needs to come out and be brave, man. Like, go back to the back four. None of this back three stuff. Like, we don't want that.
Who would you start in the back four, Don?
I would start Levi. If it was up to me, Matson, left back. Then I'd start Silva, right centre back. Gusto, right back. And then in the pivot, I'd play Enzo and Caicedo. In the 10, we've got no choice, but I'd have to play Gallagher. And then right mids, you'd probably play... I'll start Sterling. Left, I'd start Sterling. Right, I'll start Madueke. Up front, Jackson.
So you're not starting Caicedo after that beautiful debut the other day?
I said I was starting.
Oh, you did say you did? Sorry, I must have missed that.
Yeah, I'll start him in the pivot. And Poch did say today that he's ready to start now. So
what about Lavia then?
Yeah.
Lavia's not ready. Poch said
he's not ready yet. He's not ready
Have
yet.
you got no one better than Gallagher in your team to start?
No, we had Carney to start, but Carney's out for 6 weeks. So
Too bad to be honest. What a player.
No, he looked very good
If we do start Chilwell left back, I would happily start Matson in the 10. But I just know Poch ain't gonna do that. Yeah, Matson in the 10, I think he can work, bro. Like if you see all his little pockets he was picking up, even for that assist he got against Newcastle, yeah, he slipped it through from a 10 position for Jackson. I think he can do a job there.
I'll play 4-4-2. I'll play Lukaku and Jackson up top, guys. I'm serious. I'm 100% serious. Lukaku with Jackson behind him. Deadly. Serious.
All the money to play Gallagher. Well, that's what's gone around a lot this week with Chelsea. $1 billion spent and no recognised 9 and no kind of attacking midfield player. Well, but they have got on Nkunku, haven't they? He's just out injured, but I'm sure that will improve. Chilwell and how do you pronounce that guy's name? Matson. At the 10 is what he says there.
I said the same thing.
We've got some Arsenal conversations coming up soon, so please stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. The big game this weekend, though, is Newcastle versus Liverpool or Liverpool, as everybody's calling them now. It's a cheesy name, but I kind of like it. Liverpool. D-Man, how you feeling about this game going up against Liverpool? Super Sunday.
I'm expecting a reaction from the Man City game. Although we didn't play badly, I think we let ourselves down a little bit. Our record against Liverpool isn't great, but I think this is probably the best time to play them. I'd say pound for pound, we've got arguably a better starting 11 in them. Their midfield looks quite weak. I know they brought that Endo in. Whether he starts or not, I don't know. But I'd be disappointed if we don't take 3 points from the game. St. James is, rocking on a Sunday evening. It's a bit of a fortress. We don't usually lose there. We don't really drop too many points against the bigger teams there. I'm quite confident, if I'm honest. I expect us to put at least 2 past them. Whether or not they score, that's another story. But I'm expecting 3 points. Worst a draw.
Comes a day where I'm watching a Newcastle fan saying that anything less than a win against Liverpool Football Club, I will be disappointed. Football has changed.
Well, they're so dodgy at the back at the moment. They haven't got it right at the back. Van Dijk ain't what he used to be. It's just whether Alisson has another, a day like he can now because he's the best keeper in the Prem. But I reckon we'll create a lot of chances against them. I think they got to worry about us more than we worry about them. I know they've got a very good attack on paper. But it's just that midfield. I think we'll just overrun them in midfield physically.
Don't you think that you may do the same thing you've done against City, where you play a bit passive, you don't play the way that you usually want to, and you just don't.
No, do you know why?
The only reason I say that is because if we're being honest, Liverpool's attack is going to be a lot more dangerous than City's attack was on the weekend. Liverpool's attack, as much as they are open, Liverpool are relentless, and they're going to do chance after chance after chance. And they're going to break through you guys just as much as you break through them. It's just about who takes the chances.
I don't think we'll be reckless with it. I don't think we're going to go gung-ho against them. But you see remember how we played Man United last season? The 2-0, when we annihilated them. But I think Eddie Howe is going to use the comments that Klopp has been making since we've been taken over as ammunition, as motivation to get at them. I just don't think they will come at us. They will come at us because they've got the tools to do it. But I just don't think they'll be able to handle 90 minutes of the crowd behind our players and us going at them, creating the chances. I just don't think
I'm lacking that confidence. Like it's a mad turnaround. It's funny you turn around and say, Mo, I can't believe Newcastle fans are talking like this. This is what I grew up with Newcastle fans saying. One of my cousins grew up in London, same part of London as me. He's a Newcastle fan because in the 90s. They were a good team and they were confident of beating everybody. Newcastle. It's so interesting to see them come back. Rory, how do you see this one going, mate? Because obviously it's a big game. It's 2 teams that are tipped to finish inside those Champions League positions. So it's one for us all to watch, really.
I think Newcastle are going to run them over. I really do. I think that midfield battle is so imbalanced. I think Newcastle will dominate the midfield. They've got the attacking power. Off the back of a loss back at St James's Park. Remember that game last season when they put 6 past Spurs? I really think if Liverpool start badly, it could be a long afternoon for them. I'd be very surprised if Newcastle don't roll out comfortable winners.
I don't agree with that, to be honest. I think obviously we don't know much about Endo, but the main thing for Liverpool is at least they've got a little bit of stability now. They've got a natural CDM that can hold that position. McAllister can play a bit further up, and they're not having to play Gakpo in midfield as well. So they can play a midfield 3 of Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Endo. So at least there you've got a little bit of balance. They're not as imbalanced as what they were last week. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I predicted 2-2 yesterday, so I'm still going to say 2-2 this game. I think Liverpool have got enough firepower. And that midfield at least now it's got a little bit of structure. Do you know what I mean? I don't know much about Endo, like I said, but it's better to play a natural CDM than it is to play McAllister in that role.
I don't think Endo is a proper Premier League 6. I think there's a bit of a... I don't think he is, and I think it's still going to be an issue, and especially what a first game that is to go away to St James's Park. I might be wrong, but I see it.
I mean, he came on the other day. He came on the other day against Bournemouth for a little bit. He looked all right, but I think the main thing, if they didn't have Endo for this game, then I'd say Newcastle are going to run them over. But I can see Liverpool holding their own, to be honest. Going into
I'm
the
not
game
sure
a
if this
little
is the
bit.
best game for him to start. You know, I don't know.
You think he's still going to start Mac as a CDM?
Endo isn't gonna start. He's not. He's not.
You
gonna
really
start.
don't think that?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think it's the
I
best
think
game.
it's a massive mistake.
Oh, if
Endo
they don't start Endo, then it's
he
going to
isn't
be
even a
peak.
DM. He isn't even a DM. The guy is a center mid going forward. He isn't even a DM. The fact that he played DM for Stuttgart doesn't mean like every time I'm watching the guy, he drives forward with the ball, bro. He isn't
Boy,
the DM.
just to interject really quickly, Hassam's watching the show. He sent me a voice note that he wants me to play regarding this game. Let me just play this out here.
Yo, tell that Newcastle fan, I'm guaranteeing that we beat Newcastle this Sunday. And you're all going to eat your words. That Newcastle defense won't survive the Liverpool attack. The front three is going to do its job this Sunday. I promise you we're beating Newcastle.
Hassam's back at 3:30 tomorrow. Top straight facts. So make sure you're tuning into that one. Look, I don't know. I think I agree with Rory here. I just think this Newcastle team, they're so well gelled. They're so well gelled together at the moment. I'm jealous watching them. I'm not going to lie. What they're doing, what they're achieving, the standards of the club. And I just think, as you say, it's going to be like a real big acid test for them. I think they'll do it. And if I'm going to put a score prediction, I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle. 2-0 Newcastle. Big statement win for them in terms of the top four race. I really do think that Newcastle.
They're at home, right?
Yeah, it's at St James's Park.
Oh shit.
2-1 to Newcastle. But
3-1.
one of the things that I really wanted to talk about here on the show, that reverse of the red card for McAllister, right? Rightfully reversed, right? However, the contact happened. The referee interpreted that as a red card. We cannot just, I think it's unfair to every other club to go back. If the contact didn't happen, I understand. But the contact happened. They interpreted it as a red card. There is VAR. They came to the conclusion that it's a red card. Why are you reversing that decision? Now go back and do the Man United penalty. Go back and do the Tim Ream second yellow card. Fulham against Brentford. Go do that. If the contact didn't happen, I agree with you. Reverse it. But the interpretation on the pitch that this was deemed as a red card, do not reverse it. It's rightly reversed, right? But this is unfair for other clubs because it's interpretation now. I don't know what you guys think about that. This is a McAllister red card.
I agree.
It's unfair.
It sets a bad precedent if we're going to say an on-field referee, qualified referee, sees it, gives it. The VAR, also qualified Premier League referee, watches the replay, agrees with it, and then another panel after the game can change that. We're effectively saying that the state of our refereeing is that you can have an on-field ref and a VAR who are meant to be the most qualified to make the decision. Both look at it, both agree on it, but then a different panel can overcharge. And the problem is you are going to end up in these situations where people are calling for, red cards, yellow cards, suspensions to be overturned left, right, and centre because no one now trusts the judgment of the referees.
Yeah, but that one was a clear yellow. This is a big deal. That was a clear yellow, though. That it was even a howler that it wasn't overturned.
Yeah,
I agree. I
agree with you. That's why I said correctly overturned.
No, VAR started going. I loved VAR when it first came in, when they corrected all wrong decisions. This nonsense of it has to be a clear and obvious error. It's the biggest fallacy that's ever been said. Because how do we know what a clear and obvious error is when we don't know what's being said between the referees? We don't know what they haven't seen. So none of us watching a replay can judge. There was the penalty that Palace wanted Monday night. That was more of a penalty than the one Brentford got against Tottenham the opening weekend of the season, which shows an inconsistency in decision making. So why you can't overturn a penalty after a game because you can't replay the football match. But we've already seen a lack of consistency. There was a penalty given against Brighton for a handball where the man's arm is behind his back when he's falling down. And then you've got Romero who tried to catch the ball. I'm being a little bit facetious there, not given. Obviously, you've seen Onana clatter the Wolves player, clear penalty, not given, not over, like nothing. The standard of refereeing at the beginning of the season so far has been a joke. And all they ever do is go out of the way to protect themselves. I think it was right they've overturned this, but there's been so many other decisions that haven't been overturned. Remember when, and that's a few years back, but it's one that stands out, where David Luiz was sent off for accidentally clipping the back of somebody's legs.
Yeah.
Wasn't overturned. Wasn't
that was an Arsenal
overturned.
game, innit? That was an Arsenal game.
Arsenal Wolves, not overturned. Like, I've seen so many of these decisions, and equally, they need to bring a new rule in because you can't appeal 2 yellow reds. So you can't even appeal Tomiyasu's when there was no contact. It was a
That
guy.
was ridiculous. That was
And I think
ridiculous.
that's the thing with this for me. I'm not annoyed that Liverpool have had it overturned at all. I'm annoyed that the standard of VAR has dropped now, where it's got to be a big threshold and it's got to be a big mistake. So the way it works is, if the referee had given Palace that penalty, there wouldn't have been enough evidence to overturn it to not give it. But if it isn't given, there's not enough evidence to give it. But yet the foul was the same standard as the one of Brentford versus Tottenham. So it's like, hang on a minute. They're either penalties or they're not fucking penalties. I'm at a point where I don't understand what a handball is anymore, what a penalty is anymore. And look, that was no red card for McAllister, 110%. But we saw loads of players last year sent off for things that were... Like, we had one last year at Man United where Casemiro grabbed the guy by the neck. I can understand why people say he's got to go. If they've looked back 10 seconds earlier, the same man grabbed him by the neck. But they didn't go back with that extra 10 seconds. So it should have been a
that
double.
wasn't overturned. It wasn't overturned.
And that's the thing. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous the way it's running now. It really, really is. But got some super chats here to go to. Liverpool's midfield will get exposed this season, is what Tad has got to say here. Bet your houses on Newcastle to beat Liverpool, is what Desi has got to say. We'll come back to the Arsenal ones in a minute. Potts today said Enzo is an option in the 10.
That means you could play Gallagher in the pivot with Casado then, if that's the case.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, shout out from Egypt. That's from Mohammed to Mohammed. Is your name actually Mohammed, though?
Mohammed.
It is Mohammed.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yes.
I assumed it was. But it's wrong to assume, they say. But there we go. Anyone who's going for a Liverpool win this weekend then?
I am. I'll go Liverpool winning 2-1. I think they're going to come away with a win. I don't think Newcastle are going to have enough. Like Husam said, their attack's just going to be too much.
There we go. Viewers, give us your score predictions. Sorry, go on, mate. Go on.
I just wanted to is that against Newcastle? One of the best defenses in the league last year. Is that what it is?
And it's just the Liverpool team that just consistently creates chances, consistently scores goals. They don't stop. And I don't see what makes you think that Newcastle are going to be able to stop them. I do think Newcastle's a good team. They've got a good defense. But let's not take away from what Liverpool are. Even though they played bad against Bournemouth, you could see that when they went 1-0 down, you looked at that team and you was like, don't have to worry, Liverpool are going to create chances. And what did they do?
Anfield, though,
Terry, sorry, I just want to go back,
Anfield.
guys. Terry, did you ask me if my name was Mohammed?
Yeah.
I thought he's asking about the guy. No, my name is not Mohammed at all.
Oh.
I actually just got a text from Staffy telling me that the question was, you're asking me if my name was Mohammed, and my name is not Mohammed. I thought you were asking about the guy, how to pronounce his name.
No, I know how to pronounce. I know there's a difference between Mohammed. There's two different ways of spelling Mohammed. I understand that. I was asking you because we call you Mo.
No, my name is not Mohammed. No.
Okay, there we go. So I was right not to assume. See, that's why you don't assume people. Yeah. I saw people in the comments, of course it's Mohammed. Well, you're fucking wrong, aren't you, knobheads? But there we go. Arsenal boys, there's talk Arsenal are going to raise about £100 million in the next week. There's a big group of players, Tierney, Holding, I don't know whether there's Balogun, all training separately. Rory, do you see them going? And if you do raise that 100 million, do you see Arsenal signing anybody else to give you that extra push to try and win that Premier League title this season?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get 100 mil. It sounds like Tierney's now going to go out on loan, and he'd have been the kind of, alongside Balogun, the other guy that would have got a bit of decent money. I like Rob Holding. Well, if you get 5 million, you've done well. Pepe, maybe get a fee from Saudi, but it's not going to be much. So I don't think we'll hit 100 mil. And to be honest, it depends how quickly we get rid of Balogun in terms of if we then spend it, because by all accounts, we've got to sell to buy. And so, yeah, if we get rid of Balogun quickly, sounds like Monaco's pretty close to agreeing a fee, then maybe we go and spend that. I want us to jump on Kudus. The longer that goes on and on and on without anyone doing it, just jump on it. But yeah, we'll see.
Do you agree, Northside? Like, Kudus, get rid of some of those players, get someone like Kudus in for that title push this year?
Yeah, we need Kudus and we need more. I think it's mad every time that we actually put a figure next to a lot of these players that I don't like, that have been part of the bench, which is the reason why we bottled last season. It shows how highly they actually are rated. £5 million Rob Holding, what, £10 million Pepe. They're not that great. I don't think it's. I do agree with Rory. I don't think it's going to hit £100 million because a lot of them are not that great. But yeah, we need Kudus and we need more. If we're going to win the league, we need more. We definitely need more.
Don't you rate Balogun though? I thought Northside, me and you spoke before, and you think that Balogun should be given a chance at the club. He shouldn't be sold.
He's the only one, and yet he's still not of the level. That's a player that I believe that could go on to become a very good player, but we're talking in the here and now, which this is a process. We finished second last year. We're supposed to be going on to compete with Man City. Right now, Balogun isn't ready to push us on to win a league title. Eddie Nketiah, we've seen the best of him. What we saw in the last match against Crystal Palace. Every year it's the same story. Not good enough, doesn't finish his chances. And then the rest of them, El Nenes, Rob Holdings, Reece Nelsons, they're not that great. And when Arsenal fans actually put a figure next to their name, you see their real feelings. They're not that great. 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. Those are not the price tags of players that you really rate. And this is why I come at them, because at the end of the day, you don't rate them that highly when you're giving them that kind of price tag. You know what I mean? How much are we quoting Mo Salah to go at 31 years old? You know what I mean?
You're
just talking about old players.
Yeah, I was just
not all of them are old. Reece Nelson isn't old. A lot of them are not old. Rob Holding isn't that old. He's like 26, 27.
No, as in we've had him for years and years and years, and we bought him for 2 million. You can't expect, without spending billions, to have an entire squad of 20-odd players that are all worth 40, 50 million plus. Like, that's
what I don't expect
reality.
Is the players that have not been good enough at this club, like Rob Holding, like Reece Nelson, in the time in Nketiah, that have been at this club season after season under multiple managers, haven't been good enough, that we are happy to continue with them if we don't get the price that we're looking for. Move them on, because they're not good enough.
That's what we're doing.
How do you move them on? That's the
Man United that haven't been good enough. Not just under this manager.
That's what we're doing, Northside.
Other managers as well. They're not good enough. Get rid of the
That's what we're doing.
Well, that's what I expect.
That's what we're doing. They're not training with the squad. They haven't.
Because we do need another striker. We do need another striker, and we saw that against Crystal Palace. We need another striker, and I've been saying that from 2 seasons ago. We need another striker. Even when we got Jesus, I'd say it wasn't enough, and we haven't won the league since then. Since we got Jesus from before then, we need somebody else for Saka. So yeah, you can get Kudos. That's fine. We also need rotation for Odegaard and Declan Rice, because when you look on that bench, it ain't good enough. The levels drop. And we saw that last season, because these players, when they were filling in the Europa League, they were struggling in the Europa League. And that's not the same problem as the Premier League.
Right.
So a lot of these players do need to be moved on. And we get Kudus, but there is still a lot to be done. We need another defender. We need 2 midfielders, because the midfield options are still dire. We need a striker and we need a winger. That's what we need for serious.
Yeah, you sound
after
so much like a
250
Chelsea
million,
fan.
you still need all of that.
And you sound so much like the people on AFTV.
What's going on here?
Every season I'm right though, and every season people like you are wrong.
So let me ask you, Northside. So let me ask you. So when you're talking about needing a striker and making it priority, would you go out of your way this summer, prioritize a striker, and not wait until January to get Toney? Because if we're looking at the striker market right now, for the price you're going to pay for Toney, you're not going to get any better player.
But I'd wait for Ivan Toney, because I think Ivan Toney, even when he can come back into football and score, he'll still score more goals. If we wait on him, when he's fit, he'll still score more goals than a fully fit Havertz, a fully fit Nketiah, and a fully fit Balogun.
So if Arsenal now are waiting for Ivan Toney and not getting a striker this window, that's good.
But why are we going to wait? Hold on. Let's not rewrite history.
What is going on? This is
He's contradicting himself straight away.
Let's wait to the next transfer window. Do you remember Mudryk? We waited. The next one. And what happened? Chelsea entered the bid. Remember Rafinha? We took our time. Remember Vlahovic? We took our time. Juventus took Vlahovic. Yeah,
they've all done so well. I wish we
took Rafinha. Act now. Get the player over the line now, and then when he's eligible to play, then we go. Arsenal Football Club are not good at haggling in bidding wars. Yeah, we lost when we wanted Buendia. We lost when we wanted Vlahovic. We lost when we wanted Mudryk. Yeah, a lot of times when clubs come in for the players that we want, a lot of times we lose. Unless we're getting a fully unknown player like Lokonga, Fabi Vieira that are not good enough. And ultimately, we see we're not good enough. Or we're getting hand-me-downs from Man City as a favour because Pep and Arteta are boys.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Oh my God. No, we're not going there. No, we're not going there.
We didn't go head to head with City and get Declan Rice this summer. That didn't happen at all.
Also,
the other thing is,
one out of how many?
Please, let me talk. The biggest thing is you have to appreciate that it takes time to do things. So we are moving on the final bits of deadwood from bygone eras this summer. That is what we're doing. If you want to do it all in one window or two windows, what is one team you can think of that has gone for a complete squad overhaul in 12 months, and how did it go for them?
First of all, has Arteta only been here for 12 months? So let's not move the narrative. Arteta's been here now, spent almost £700 million. This is going on to what, his fourth, fifth season? So don't tell me that it's only that time. And ultimately, what you're asking me to do is what we've been doing for 20 years. When has it worked? Project Youth, when has it worked? Because we've been doing Project Youth since we last won the league. We've been doing this. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry that we have areas in the actual playing staff that we need to get quality striker or whatever position it is. Just wait till the next transfer window, and we've not won anything. What you're asking me to do is repeat history, recent history and late history from Arsenal, and it's not gone in our way in terms of winning major honours. So sorry that I'm skeptical, but I'm old enough to remember that we've been doing this long enough and it ain't worked. So why don't we actually go and adopt what other teams have done that actually have led them to win major honours? Don't tell me about patience, because 20 years is more than enough patience. And when people say, Arteta wasn't here for 20 years, I'm talking about the way we do business. I gave the club props when they got Trossard. I gave the club props when they got Rice, but we needed more.
But if they've gone and got...
Last season, when everyone told me to be happy with what we done, I told you it wasn't good enough, and we bottled the league. Yeah, so I'm not coming from my predictions being wrong. My prediction last season was we haven't done enough business. We're not going to win the league. Yeah, but everyone that has been wrong and told me just to be happy is now trying to tell me, oh, just take time. No, the time is now, especially with a club like Arsenal that don't have endless resources. And when we allow our rivals to come in for our main targets, we lose on those targets. And when you're telling me Declan Rice, that's one out of how many have I named off the top of my head that we haven't won the bidding war. So don't tell me we can't compete with Man City and allow things like that. And also, the last thing I'll say on Declan Rice, Man City chose to not continue the bidding war. Don't sit there and tell me
which is what we did with all of the players that you're moaning about not getting. We chose not to continue the bidding war with Mudryk.
Arsenal fans love to complain and cry about Man City. We can't compete. They have too much money. Man City just won the treble, yeah, and they got oil-rich owners. If they really wanted Declan Rice, they would continue that bidding war to the point that we can't match their bid. Let's not be silly about it. Yeah, dropping out of a bid is completely different to winning a bid. If we're going for a car, you bid $2,000, and I say, you know what? No, I'm not going to go any higher. Yeah, you won it because I decided not to go any higher. If I go to 5, 6, 10, you're not going to outbid me.
Final point on this, please. You talk when it comes to City dropping out of the Rice bid, it's not that Arsenal won it, it's that City dropped out. But when we dropped out of Mudryk and let him go to Chelsea, it's not that Arsenal dropped out, it's that Chelsea won and beat us to it. So you changed the narrative to make Arsenal look like the losers in that situation each time. You then say you gave Arsenal props for signing Trossard, but if you'd had it your way, we'd have spent 110 million on Mudryk, which clearly wouldn't have gone well. So this is the issue. You whatever angle you're coming from, it's Arsenal are the losers and did it badly, when actually we're acting like a proper club. We're getting players for good value again. And I don't really understand what they're meant to do to actually make you happy. Clearly nothing.
Well, who was right at the end of last season? Who was right at the end of the season before that we didn't do what we need to do? What about, let's go back to 04, right? You ain't been right any season, so I don't know what you're talking about. Because everything that you're asking and you're gassing up, we ain't won no major honours. That's a fact. Doesn't matter about your feelings. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter how much you want to perpetuate what comes out of AFTV. What I'm saying is a fact. We ain't won a major honour. Yeah, so why don't we change that? Why don't we actually move like a big club? And when you're telling me about, I wouldn't be happy about Trossard, I told you, I've been telling Arsenal fans from 2 years ago, we have not done enough. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because you know what it is with this fan base? Only when SHIT hits the fan do you man realize the holes in this team. So let's go with what you're doing. We're not going to get a striker. We're not going to get a winger. We'll probably only get a winger. The midfield's still light. We're still going with that bench that barely could get past.
The midfield's light.
By the end of the season, we will see, innit?
Guys, let me interject for a second here. Rivals, when you're listening to this kind of debate between Rory and Northside, Don, what side are you kind of veering towards here in terms that you just said you reacted there to like weak midfield, you know, not doing enough, predictions last season were wrong. I mean, most of the people that don't back Arteta didn't didn't say at the beginning of the season we won't win the league. They said we won't make top 4. So you can see that as being right and wrong at the same time. But how do you think that Northside's been a bit harsh on his own team?
Yeah, do you know what it is? I get why Northside feels the way he did, because he's quite skeptical about Arsenal moving in the direction that they are, because he's seen them consistently fail, like, you know, years on end. Obviously, they haven't won the league in 20 years, but in all honesty, like this summer, I think Arsenal moved like a correct club, man, with what they did with Declan Rice, you know, to get a big signing like that. That's a game changer. They've done some good business, man. You've got the depth that you guys have wanted. I know ideally you'd like a striker, but again, if you look at the market, who's really out there, bro? Apart from Toney and Osimhen, who's out there that's going to go and guarantee you goals? Yeah, you could probably get back up for Saka. I agree with that, but you have to look internally. You've given Reece Nelson this new contract. So what was the point of giving him the new contract if you're not going to play him? Arsenal fans, they wanted Moussa Diaby. He's gone to Aston Villa right now. But in all honesty, I get your frustration and why you're skeptical. But I think right now, I think you're going a bit over the top, bro. Like you got to let it marinate and see what happens, and then end of the season you can react the way you are. But I get your frustration 100%. I get your frustration. But I think Arsenal been, in all honesty, I think
this is what they told me last season.
I think Arsenal. Yeah, I get it, but you can't keep using the same script, because Arsenal will be moving correct this summer.
No, it's moving worse. It's moving worse, because when we spoke about Man United, what did we speak about? Everybody on here spoke about, oh, wait, hold on. Certain signings coming in, they're not looking that great. We got rid of Xhaka. Havertz is looking worse. He ain't offering half of what Xhaka.
Havertz, I don't agree with.
And Xhaka wasn't even the level that I wanted from our football club. Yeah, but we still wasn't good enough. We knew that we didn't have a striker, because last season, anything happened to Jesus, Nketiah wasn't good enough. We was playing Trossard in that position, and ultimately we didn't win the league. Yeah. Then we're looking at certain signings that have been done. At the end of the day, yeah. Then you look at the football. Last season, one thing I will give credit to Arteta, for everyone that's crying, I'm not going to say this is finished up. Yeah. I say what I got to say. You don't like, I don't care. How about that? Yeah. I don't care. Keep crying, keep whinging. At the end of the day, yeah, when we're talking about style of football, it's regressing under Ten Hag. Yeah. Let's not have that energy with Ten Hag. Arteta's been here for longer. Yeah. Last season, we were ripping teams apart. Start of the season, how many did we win? 9 in a row? Now we're playing Partey at right back. We're playing Havertz in the middle that's not offering nothing. And our creativity is only coming from our wingers. Yeah? We got onto Liverpool when all their creativity was coming through Trent. It was easy to nullify them. Arsenal are going to get into that situation as well.
But the thing is on Northside, the thing is though,
Odegaard was forcing last season. He was playing well.
I get what you. I want to ask you. Wait, hold on, Mo. Wait, let me finish my point, Mo. Yeah, then I'll let you land. Yeah, Northside. I get what you're saying about the first 2 games, because I don't think Arsenal have been convincing. At the end of the day, like I said to Rory the other day, you've left with 6 points, bro. You've left with 6 points. You've still got Zinchenko to come back. Obviously, Timber was a big miss. I really like Timber, by the way. That's obviously his peak that he's out for the whole season. But you've got Zinchenko to come back. When he came on against Palace, it looks like the old Arsenal for about 5 minutes, the way you guys were popping it about. But, you know, you've gone against Forest. It wasn't that convincing. You got the 3 points. Palace, same sort of thing. I don't think that's going to be sustainable to play like that the whole season. In all honesty, I don't think it will be. But I don't think it's going to be the same thing every single game. I think now with Zinchenko coming back, I'm seeing Jesus is back in training. It's going to look a bit more fluid, bro, with these sort of players. You have to look at that. I don't think right now it's not Arsenal's best 11. Let's be real about it. It's not Arsenal's best 11. Arsenal are only going to get better. Rice was looking good the other day. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I think Partey is the better 6, in all honesty. But Rice was looking really good the other day, man. So it's only 2 games in, bro. Like, I get your frustration again and why you're skeptical about the club. But Arsenal this summer, man, they've been moving correct. If anything, I like I've been saying, they need to get rid of players before they try and go get a Kudus, for example. Yes, the striker would be a cherry on top. But bro, who's out there really? Toney and Osimhen, but who else is guaranteed you go?
Do you know how many times I hear that who's out there? Do you know how many times every year is who's out there? It's either who's out there, we can't compete financially, or it's a process. If you bring that player in, then it's going to reduce Saka growing to be a world-class player. Martinelli, or we don't want to take certain starting players out of the starting lineup. Listen, one thing I like about the internet, yeah, is that the receipts are here. Yeah, and I'm clipping up everyone. That's why.
Who would you get? Who would you go and get them? What striker would you go and get them?
And everybody that's telling me all of this, last season I didn't have the receipts. This season I got all of the receipts. Yeah,
but Northside, what striker would you
You
get?
aren't providing solutions, honestly.
Yeah.
You're not
What do you mean
providing
I'm not-
solutions.
am I-
honestly.
Wait, Mo. When people say that there's no striker out there, what are the scouting team doing the 6-7 months that we're not in the transfer window? What are they doing?
But you want a guaranteed striker, though.
So you are saying
if
I'm a
Arsenal
fan.
went and got a striker from Brazil, yeah.
Oh,
No, hold on,
oh.
Northside. No. You done yourself now. Because if Arsenal went and got a striker that you've never heard about and they scouted them well, you would say, why are you go get this guy here?
I've never heard of him.
Get that guy.
Let me reply to that.
That's what you would do.
We need a world-class striker.
Hold on. I didn't like Ramsdale. When he come in, it's for him to prove me wrong. It's not me to just back him. When he proved me wrong, I backed him. So at no point am I saying I can't be proven wrong. Yeah, I'm not. At the end of the day, it's for you. No player that comes to your club should you just be getting, unless he's world class. You shouldn't just be going, oh yeah, world class. No, it's for him to prove himself.
Great. So let me ask you a straight question then.
Yeah,
Did your squad get better this year?
No.
Than last year?
No.
In your opinion, your squad has not gotten better this year.
What?
With signing Timber, Havertz, Declan Rice.
I know who we
it's
signed.
not better.
Okay,
it's even one better by 1 point. It's a straight question. You think no?
No, I haven't. I don't think it's got better.
So you think you went backwards?
Huh? No, I
think you went backwards.
I feel like we.
You mentioned the Havertz and Xhaka thing, innit?
Let me tell you why. I feel like it's stagnant. Let me tell you why. We have got Havertz in. It's not as good as Xhaka. It's not as good as Xhaka. And Xhaka ain't even the level. Then you've got Declan Rice. That is good. That is good because you can rotate in with Partey. That is very good. Then you've got Timber that can also defend. But ultimately, when you look at that bench, which I've been looking at the bench, the only one that I am impressed by on that bench, which is the reason universally why Arsenal fans said we lost the league, the only one that's any good is Trossard. Everybody else is wishful thinking or he will come good. Most of them ain't good enough. They're not of the level.
Jorginho with Champions League experience, a Euro winner. Oh, come on, Northside, man. Listen, Jorginho's a good player to bring on. Yeah, listen. As much as I wanted Chelsea to upgrade on Jorginho, when it comes to certain games, you need to take the sting out of the opposition. Jorginho is that guy, bro, because he's going to retain the ball and he's got leadership qualities as well. And he's got Champions League experience.
Wait.
No. Hold on. Hold on, George. Yeah. And he's got that Champions League experience because a lot of your players have never played Champions League before. So having Jorginho on the bench, I don't see that as being a problem, bro. He's not a starter, but he's definitely quality off the bench. 100%.
The problem with what Northside's got going on right now is Northside, you think you're Man City. You're holding your club to a standard that Manchester City fans hold their club to a standard too.
But they don't even have that standard. That's the crazy thing.
No offense. At the end of the day, I should be holding my club to a big standard.
Wait. We all want the Arsenal fans.
You're telling me that you support Tottenham.
No, but you
don't hold your club to a big standard.
You've been speaking for a while. Let me just get my point out. Look, we've had to listen to you run on about your team. And look, quite frankly, I don't think you're wrong about a lot of the things. I really don't. I do think a lot of the points you're making are valid. And I do think the team hasn't progressed as much as Arsenal fans think. But the problem with the way that you're thinking is you think like you're Man City. You think you're the Arsenal of 20 years ago. You think that you can go out and just sign world-class player. And you think that your team's going to have a bench full of players that are willing to just come into the starting lineup and it's not going to look no different. Only Manchester City in this Premier League can do that. And that's not just because of they're the only team with the money. It's because they're the only team with the pool for players to be happily sitting on their bench because they know they're going to be at the end of the season with a trophy in their pocket, regardless whether they played 25 games or not. They just want to be a part of a Pep team. They want to be a part of that City team. They don't care whether they're playing all the minutes or not. Arsenal, at this moment in time, yes, you're progressing, but you're not a team that's going to attract world-class players to sit on the bench, and nor are players like Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard, who you've just signed new contracts for. They're not going to want to sit on the bench either. They're all down for competition. That's fine. But the players that you bring in are going to be merely backups to the likes of Saka and Martinelli. They will, of course, compete like Trossard. He's a backup, but he's going to compete. So and sometimes he may swap positions with those. But your team is not at the level where you can sign world-class players to be on your bench.
The thing is, and this is the big thing.
At the end of the season, the fan base said we got Champions League, we can attract world-class players. So they can't backtrack on that. That's what they said. I didn't put words in. That's what they said. And second of all, I'm sorry, but I'm not adapting that mentality from Tottenham. different. This is why your club here do whatever the hell they want to do because you lot just take it. And my fan base are full of that type of mentality, which is why they take it. At the end of the day, yeah, if we're just going to sit here and say, oh, well, you know what? The best team are Man City. We're not going to compete. Sorry, I've seen my club compete with Fergie. Yeah, and yes, more time Fergie got over Wenger, but we didn't just accept that it's Fergie and they can just win.
I'm not saying you're not going to compete. You're just not going to have the same. You think that you can operate the way that Man City operate.
Why can't I?
You're Arsenal Football Club. You're not operating the same way.
The thing is,
know your level.
S'il vous plaît. The thing is, Man
Did you
City
just
don't
tell him-
even
did you just
operate.
tell him know your level?
The thing is, Man City.
That is cheeky from Georgie. That is cheeky from you, brother.
Man City.
I got a live to
Wait, let me reland.
Man City don't even operate on this insane level that Northside wants us to operate on. If we bought Kovacic this summer, he'd be calling him a Chelsea bum. If we had Calvin Phillips on the bench, he'd be saying we've got a bench full of bums. This is the logic that is just you can't compete with. On Monday night, we brought on Gabriel, Zinchenko, Jorginho, and Kivior, and we still had Trossard, Gabriel Jesus not even in the squad. You cannot say that is not a good enough bench to compete for a title. It's like you just
What are
can't.
you talking about? You lot are the ones that said that the bench was the bench was light, which is why we didn't win the league. Now what are you talking about now?
Because it's stronger now. Because we've had a good summer. That's the whole. It's like it all makes sense.
Mentality, which is why we ain't won nothing. I've seen top players on the Man United bench. I've seen top players on Bayern Munich bench. You know why they stay there? Because they know that club is ambitious and want to win things. Players want to be in a winning team. Yeah, so I don't want to hear none of that chat because everything you're telling me we've been doing for the last 20 years. How many major honors have we won? All right, okay. Get back to me when we do that, yeah? Then you tell me something. Then I can say I'm wrong.
Guys, I want to go to some of these super chats here. This here says, Northside watched the Palace game from last season. We played better this season. Do not run through them. Rice better than Xhaka and Trossard over last season. Players a year older. We are better, is what Mr. Tybox has got to say here. Sipping on this wine whilst Northside chats. What a day. Is what Abu says here. He's enjoying himself. This chat for Northside, please use the Ryanair flight to Spain so you and Lee Gunner can glaze into each other's eyes and maybe you'll both finally be happy. Second time I've seen you touch your chest. I hope you're okay, Terry. Yeah, I'm good. Sorry. Yeah, I'm fine. I promise you. Sorry, I already done that one. Bright fan. I think it needs to say Brighton fan here. This is nonsense. He's actually not addressing any points made by Rory. Loads of word salad. Tell you're a big hypocrite on this one. Why am I ain't said nothing.
No, he said you're big on hypocrites. This is one.
Oh, right. You're big. Sorry. My dyslexia kicked in there. I thought sorry. My dyslexia kicked in. I thought me? Why F me? Look, listen, that's the name of the game. Maybe deepest midfield in the Prem, light as a question. Man, we could win the league and you'd complain about the margin, is what Colton says here. One that I would disagree with what you said, Don, earlier, actually, when you said like it's not sustainable for Arsenal. I think these performances are because they've not been under any pressure really in the games. They haven't put the ball in the back of the net as much as they would like, but they've dominated the game. I think unsustainable wins are where, like Man United versus Wolves, that would be an unsustainable win. The way West Ham played against you, if West Ham play that way against every team and concede that many chances, they won't win 3-1 all the time. Arsenal's have kind of been the other way for me, where they've just not put the ball in the back of the net enough. But I think that's going to come.
Do you know what's crazy? Sorry, just to say on that. The thing that's crazy, and this is... So our first game of the season last season was that game away at Crystal Palace, and we played really well, really like attacking football, and everyone thought, this Arsenal team's really, really improved. And then obviously we've played them on Monday night, and despite being down to 10 men for half an hour, this season against Palace, we had double the XG, we had far more possession than we had last time, and overall it was a far more dominant game. But because it's not so much flair, there's not so much flamboyance in the attack, it's almost being portrayed like it was a bad performance, when actually we played a different style, which meant we dominated the game a lot more. And long term, that's the sort of thing that City do a lot, and it means that they don't lose anywhere near as many games. So, yeah, just an interesting one.
I hear you there. NLF says, Guy is shouting when Toney is banned from all football-related activities. If you didn't know, transfers fall under football-related activities. I think Northside's aware.
I'm pretty sure he's allowed to train. I'm pretty sure he's allowed to train.
He can train in September. He's allowed to start training.
Yeah, September. Yeah.
This guy saying doesn't matter about your feelings when all he is doing is venting, wanting people to say he's right. Hypocrite, nonsense. Please mute. So we're not going to mute him, but thank you for the super chat. The ticking time bomb we've been watching on my fellow Arsenal mate, Northside. Puta is what Benjamin has got to say here. Northside guy read from the same script as every flipping time. Come with something original. Light skin League Gunner. Hashtag idiot is what my man's got to say here. Who brought Lee's son on the show? That's funny. On the beach, Zinni.
On the bench.
On the bench, sorry, beach. Again, dyslexia, sorry. Zinni, Jorginho, Gabriel, Trossard, Emil Smith-Rowe, no, not good enough. Who do you want on the bench? You chat a lot with no solutions, my guy.
Cool. We finished second last season. We better win the league this season, then, innit? Because there's been so much improvement. The only way up is first from second, innit? So cool. No excuses. End of the season.
This here says, face the facts, Arsenal are shit and won't challenge, is what Michael Ramsey's got to say. Kudos plus Toney wins Arsenal the league 100%. Very much could. They were both there now. No doubt about it. Northside, stop getting upset and listen to the question. You get upset and ramble on about things that contradict yourself, is what Tony's got to say here. Jason says, oh my days, Northside and League Gunner, there is no reasoning with these guys and makes the Arsenal fan base look bad. Kai and Nketiah plus Balogun should be blamed for making a grown man cry, is what Sal says. How have you had a good summer with no striker? I suppose that's the Rory.
We scored 89 goals last season, the most we'd ever scored in a Premier League season. I don't think buying a striker was the big issue.
You're putting a lot of hope on Martinelli and Saka hitting those numbers again, though. That is one thing that I will say. You're putting a lot of hope on them to hit the same numbers.
Yeah, but there's no reason that they shouldn't.
Well, same Man City are putting a lot of hope that Haaland get the same numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is Haaland we're talking about, though.
But Man City
This is Haaland we're talking about. Come on, man. Let's not do that, Mo.
Hold on. Are you serious? You think I'm joking? So Haaland got a lot of assists from KDB last year, right? Gundogan as well got involved, right? Exactly. KDB's injured. Did they go and buy another KDB? Nope. Arsenal had Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard contributing a lot. Why are we assuming that they're going to get worse and they're young? I'm assuming Haaland's going to get better.
No one said
going to get better.
I'm not assuming they're going to get worse.
I'm actually thinking that on paper they should actually get more goals. These three.
See, Mo, you're misquoting me. I'm not assuming they're going to get worse. What I'm saying with Rory, because he's saying they don't need a striker because they scored X amount of goals. What I'm saying is you're now depending on Saka and Martinelli to do the same thing again. They have to replicate what they did plus more. Yeah. Is what I'm saying. I didn't say they're going to get worse.
Do you
I agree.
Haaland
But so is City.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I think we're going to say the same thing, Mo. City are relying on Haaland getting the same number of goals and De Bruyne getting the same number of assists.
You're right. But I can argue that Haaland guarantees you goals. I can argue that he guarantees you goals. That's the thing. He's world class.
So question I throw back at you, Don. Do you think Martinelli and Saka and Odegaard will struggle to get the same GA this year?
I think that already, like, even when I watched the game against Palace, Saka was getting doubled up a lot, man. I think he's going to get a lot more of that this season, in all honesty. Obviously, he was getting it in bits and bobs last year, but he's a dangerous player. You know what I mean? When Saka launches that left foot, it's going in more time, innit? So I think they're going to do well, but again, they're not at that world-class level yet. So, you know, Arsenal, again, it's marinating, it's cooking up a little bit. I think they're going to put up numbers, but we'll just have to see what they do. What I'm saying is Arsenal fans are dependent on them to hit those numbers again, which ain't going to be easy considering that they hit good GNA last year.
Don, can I ask you a simple question? Is it easier to depend on one man to replicate or depend on multiple group together to replicate what they did? So they can actually exchange between them. Like if Saka got 15, Martinelli got 16, maybe it can change.
Yeah.
You want goals spread
I'll come back to the question in a minute because Northside's got to shoot to another stream. I just want to get your prediction, Northside, for Arsenal Fulham on Saturday.
We should win comfortably. I'm going for 3-1. Arsenal win.
Rory?
Yeah, 4-1, I think. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because we don't do that at home, but 4-1.
There we go. I know you got to shoot Northside. Great chatting to you as always, mate, and we'll chat again soon, bro.
Love. Safe.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Bye. I want to go to some more of these super chats because I'm actually running out of time myself. So I didn't realize we've been on to over 2 hours. Jesus. So Haaland, who's averaged a goal a game for his career, is now going to struggle because KDB is injured. It's a fair point.
Earlier we're talking about.
Northside talks so much he seems to forget what he says, contradicts himself consistently in the space of 2 minutes. This is the same bench as last year, yet Arsenal were stronger. A lot of power to puff fans who are happy to be losers 20 years and counting is what's said here. Please, more about Chelsea. We spent a lot of time on Chelsea earlier on tonight, to be fair with you. You should go back and watch that, my friend. We spent a lot of time on Chelsea. City have a better defence, though, Rory. You don't.
Well, the plan obviously with Timber was to improve the defence this season, and I think if you look historically, the reason we lost the league last season was because we conceded far too many goals compared to City, and so we needed to improve that defensive stability. And I think both
I think Arsenal improved the defense.
And Arsenal have got a good defense, man. You don't have no excuses to win a trophy.
Kivior now is dependable defender now. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
They concede too many at home. Too many goals at home they concede.
Yeah, I agree. But I think we've improved our defence. I still think City have a better defence than us.
I hear you there. Said this so many times. Mo's analysis is the best. That's from NUFX Design. Saka not world class. Who is a better right winger than Mo Salah?
Listen, everyone's definition of world class is different. You know, your definition of world class is different to mine, clearly. Because for me, I've got a higher standard when it comes to world class. And for me, Saka is on the verge of being world class, but for me, he's not there yet.
Sterling is better, right? Isn't it, Don?
It's not about who's better than him in that position. That logic isn't.
But who?
That might be a good indicator.
Yeah, but who do you think is better than him
right now?
Salah. I'll give you a name.
I'll say Salah. Yeah, Salah's better than him. Salah's better than him still. But Saka's one of the best. No. Hell no. Hell no. Nah, listen, I rate Saka, man. I think he's a really good player. I think he's gonna be world class. But for me, my standards are a bit higher, man. I need to see a little bit more, man.
What about if he does it in the Champions League this season?
If he does it in the Champions League, then we can have that conversation. But for me, when Arsenal, when it was to get top 4, he went missing. When Spurs go over them to win the league last year, he went missing. You know, these are things that you have to take into account. He had a really good season. But I'm sorry, man, I've got to take things like that into account.
Where I would defend him, though, is that this is what happens when you're relying on the youngster to be the star. Where you look at the young players at City, barring Haaland, who is an anomaly player, they come around once every couple of generations. They have the elder statesmen, and the Fodens and the like can just play off that. You know, that's why, like, the profile, the age profile of player Arsenal have been buying in the last couple of summers works. A lot of them in sort of early mid-20s and whatever else. They're just that little bit older, and I think that they're doing the right thing there. So yeah, he's got a long way to go, Saka, but I think he's class. Saka will get was getting doubled up on for much of last year. We also now have a full season of Trossard. City lost Gundogan and Mahrez. Yeah, it could be significant. This year says Saka is world class. Watch him in the Champions League. We all will be. Also forgetting Jesus was out of most of last season. True. Northside needs to get therapy and get back on his meds. Jesus. TBG here says, talking utter bollocks, respect people's opinions, but can't respect blatant contradictions. Praises rivals for one thing and then complains when we do the same. This here says, what I mean is, are you going to go through this again, Terry? A bad team, a manager who doesn't have a clue, and the Glazers. It looks like Chelsea are going through the same. Man United might go for it. We might go for it, and if we do, really? I'll be there.
Nah. I'm sorry, Deb. Listen, big you up every time, yeah, but don't put Chelsea right now where Man United, where Man United are with what they're.
Yeah, don't do that. Man United are better than Chelsea right now. Let's just have it right. You know, what? Hang on a minute. Okay, I'll give you an example why we're better than you right now.
Go on, bro.
Finished above you in the league last year and won a trophy, and we've won a game this season, and you ain't. So until you're ahead of us in the league, listen, I don't want to hear nothing from you.
You know, I'm going to say the same thing I said to Cass. I'd rather have my 1 point and play the way we've been playing instead of have your 3 points and see what you've been seeing from your team.
I understand that. I do understand that, and I've criticised Man United, but I do think we're putting too much stock into 2 games for everybody. I was brought up
you're right.
to not even look at the league table or standings, the 10 games. And also, the opening 3 or 4 or 5 performances are not always in it. Some teams can. I remember once when Wimbledon started the season, our first 4 or 5 games, at the top of the league, everyone's like, "Oh my god, they look amazing." They got relegated that year. Like, I've seen this happen. So yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit before I go in.
We'll wait.
Terry, would you take Todd Bowley as an owner? Yes, he's much better than the Glazers. Don Saka fell off because he was burnt out. This is true.
He still fell off, my bro. So this is why you need to bring in a bit of cover for him so he can consistently perform. Then we'll talk about world class.
There we go. Listen, boys. In terms of predictions, we'll do a few others. Bournemouth, Spurs. Who's winning that game?
I think Bournemouth wins. I think Madison's out.
Oh, is he?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
No, that was precautionary, wasn't it? I thought it was precautionary.
No, he's in
last
the
thing
boot,
I saw is having
he
a scan on his foot or something. So I think
know he
he's
didn't
out
train today.
Oh.
Could be
Yeah.
different.
2-1 Spurs.
Yeah, I'm going Spurs on that one. We've already done the Chelsea game. Man United, Forest. What are we saying, boys?
3-0.
Forest.
3-1.
Oh, I don't know. We're bad. Look, I think we'll perform this week because I don't like anyone being injured, but Mount's out, so we'll be all right. And we'll win.
2-1 United.
I have never seen a fan base so together when a player got injured and everybody's happy. I've not seen one complaint on anywhere about Mason Mount getting injured. Everybody's like, yeah, we'll be better. Everyone.
Do you know what I think it is? It's because he's going to have to bring in, when you look at the injury problems, McTominay, and we won't try and play that same way with McTominay. So it's almost like we just kind of know we're not going to be run through in the midfield. So that's what it is. But yeah, and we would, Sheffield United, Man City, anyone's fancy an upset in that game?
That's a slapping. Biggest slapping of the weekend.
Haaland hat-trick, if anything.
Yeah. Captain
First
Haaland
half
this weekend,
probably
boys.
as well. Probably. Boys, always a pleasure. My viewers, you're amazing. My super chatters, you're out of this world. Everyone who's hit the like button, thank you. Please get it done before you leave. Back tomorrow with Straight Facts with Hussam, and of course match reaction to Chelsea versus Luton, where I'm sure we'll see Don on that show tomorrow night. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.